Ladies and gentlemen, it is November 12th, 2025. Here's what's coming up on the Owen Report today. Well, any minute now, we are expecting the vote to end the government shutdown. Now, recently, the framing of why the government was shut down has changed a little bit. And I guess I would lead into that by saying the first order of business after the government is reopened could be a vote to release the Epstein files. Now, Mike Johnson has indicated once the government is reopened, he's going to swear in the Democrat, which will give that magic 218 number in the House to move forward with releasing the Epstein files. Marjorie Taylor Greene recently said in an interview she's suspicious that perhaps maybe the main reason, maybe a side reason why Speaker Johnson was keeping the government shut down was to keep the Epstein files from being released, to keep that vote from happening to release the files. Now, there was some other leaks that came out, some emails, some other Epstein stuff in the news today. There's really not much new. I mean, there's some new content, but there's not much new as far as the narrative is concerned. But it is back at the top of Drudge. It's back at the top of some news publications today. It looks like, as I'm watching the mainstream news here, they're talking about it as well. So it's back. It's back, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we do have some developments out of the DOJ, not in relation to Epstein. The DOJ, a lot of talk, not much action. A lot of talk. We'll get into the latest talk out of the DOJ, but that's about it. That's about all you're getting from the DOJ is a bunch of talk. Now, I want to get into this extremely important interview. It was a back-to-back, a two-night special that they ran on Laura Ingraham, 2 nights in a row of the Trump interview. And I'm going to get to some of the highlights, some of the more important things that Trump said in this interview. But my goodness, what a disaster. What a disaster. Another Fox News interview gone wrong. How many times has Trump given the Fox hosts a big exclusive interview, most notably Sean Hannity, and then every single time the approval rating goes down? Every single time they set him up for failure. And now approval rating is tanking. Disapproval rating is up. But at the end of the day, this one's on Trump. This one is on Trump. And so we'll review some of that, including some things that Trump has said in the last 24 hours that's not really helping anything, by the way. Then we've got some geopolitical news, some big news out of Ukraine. And you know what? I also need to look into, I've got a big story out of Ukraine that you're going to be interested in when it comes to the money laundering, the theft of all of our money. Looks like they got caught big time, as if they haven't already. It won't matter. Nothing will happen. But they got caught stealing our money, folks. They got caught. They literally got caught stealing the cash. And then Russia is now moving in, and they're about to go into the next phase of their operation as well. None of this is getting covered in Western media, of course. And the rest of the world is now scolding President Trump and this administration for what they're doing in the Gulf of America and what they're doing with these strikes on these supposed Venezuelan drug boats. So that's another disaster that's going on right now that we'll respond to. And now this continued fight over what MAGA is. Well, I'll tell you what MAGA is. MAGA's dead. MAGA is now zombie land. So there is no fight over what MAGA is. There's just people that are now realizing they destroyed MAGA, and now they're trying to bring everybody back into it because it's not cool anymore, but that's dead. So now it's what is America first. So soon it'll be America only, but now it's about what does America first mean. And it's the same people trying to keep you tied into a foreign country that are trying to dictate this. All of that and more coming up on today's Owen Report.
This news update was brought to you by OwenSchroyer.store, the official site for Owen Report merchandise.
Folks, I want to tell you about my friends at Allegiance Gold. Now, obviously, when you're watching the economy, you might be thinking about, what is it time to do with my money, especially if you have money in the bank and it's just sitting there losing value. So let me ask you something. Are you the type who waits to be rescued or the one who protects your family before the storm hits? You're already seeing the cracks. The dollar buys less every month. Banks are showing stress, and this market is being propped up with printed money. It's not if it breaks, it's how prepared you'll be when it does. Here's what they don't want you to know. When the system starts cracking, the insiders quietly move first. That's why central banks, major institutions, and billionaires are piling into gold right now. Usually a good thing to follow what they're doing. Probably a safe bet. And that's why I've partnered with Allegiance Gold. When paper markets burn or the market fails, gold and silver don't. They're yours, not the government's, not the banks, not Wall Street's. Yours. Allegiance Gold has been around for nearly a decade and is trusted by over 7,000 clients nationwide. Relationship-driven, A+ with the BBB, 4.9 stars from real clients, transparent, and they focus on educating you first. Right now, they're offering up to $5,000 in free gold and silver with qualified investments. Whether through your 401k, IRA, or savings, they make it possible to move into something real before the next reset. So, make your move. Call 844-790-9191. That's 844-790-9191. Or you can go to protectwithowen.com. That's protectwithowen.com. Protect your wealth and your freedom because nobody else will. And let me just add this. Here. A lot of people have been asking me about how to move into gold, or specifically, what to do with it. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of interest. There's a lot of questions. I'm going to do a dedicated episode to answer these questions for you. And we're going to take calls, and we're going to get precious metals experts on the show to also talk about it. So wanted to let you know that's coming up very, very soon here on the Owen Report. Go to protectwithowen.com right now to learn more.
On the cutting edge of news and analysis, the Owen Report with Owen Schroyer.
Whoa. Well, I'm never going to mislead you, folks. I'm never going to mislead you, and I'm always going to be ahead of the curve. And we're always going to balance things too. We're not going to jump to conclusions or jump off the cliff too soon to mislead you or misrepresent what's going on in the political world. But we are sometimes going to take that leap, but we're always going to land safely. And so when I see the news today, and it's everywhere, you almost can't even avoid it. Trump's approval ratings going to new lows. Yeah, we've slowly been hinting at this. We've slowly been getting into this. We didn't bum rush it. We let it play out. And maybe part of that is some hope that it wouldn't get so bad. But now it's so bad, it's just undeniable. And I think what you do have, though, is denial. What you have is denial happening from people that don't really follow politics. They've got their issues here or there, or they got involved because they wanted to create a social media account and gain a following. Maybe they wanted to get access to President Trump, or they had their one little niche issue that they kind of ran with during the election cycle. But now that we're here, they really just have no idea what's going on. And so they're confused at the MAGA coalition breaking. They're confused at the debate of what America First actually represents. And they're shocked that their attempts at character assassination, they're shocked that their attempts to destroy these people in the media that don't see eye to eye with them, they're shocked that these attempts are failing. They're failing miserably, and in fact, they're backfiring. And maybe the greatest example of such a development is with Ben Shapiro, who is losing subscribers, losing followers, and I'm sure the Daily Wire is feeling the pain as well every single day. Meanwhile, Tucker Carlson, bigger than ever. Candace Owens, #1 podcast in the world now. Nick Fuentes show, bigger than ever. So they're confused. They don't understand why the people that they're trying to destroy for whatever reason, whatever motivates them, they can't. They're bigger than ever. Meanwhile, they're less popular. They go into their replies and they see that they're less popular. They see their numbers on YouTube and social media are declining, while the people they're trying to destroy are getting more popular and bigger. So they can't understand what's going on. And it just shows that they never understood what was going on, and they never attempted to understand what's going on. But it's really not that complicated. And there's all kinds of gray area, okay? There's all kinds of different issues and movements. But this one is pretty clear. This one is pretty clear. When we talk about no foreign aid, when we talk about no foreign entanglements, yes, that means Israel. But for many people that have decided to become MAGA in the last, let's say, 18 months, for many people, Israel was always their #1 issue. But in an election cycle, we're focused on winning. We're focused on getting a majority in the House, getting a majority in the Senate, and, of course, winning the presidential election. So you don't really get too much into the infighting. You don't really get too much into the ideological or geopolitical differences that you have in these movements while you're trying to win. But then in the aftermath, they slowly but surely come to the surface. Now, this one has shot to the surface like a starship. This thing is shot to the surface like a rocket. I've never seen a political realignment happening this fast. And if you followed my work at the previous show I hosted, you know I've been talking about this all year. I've been talking about it all year, how the political realignment is happening, but it's happening at about 5 times the speed that normally happens in an election cycle. And just so people kind of get a better grasp, and I'll move quick through this, basically, the political media landscape shifts every 2 years and then dramatically every 4 years. But usually it's a process. It's like a 2-year process and then another 2-year process, and then it's kind of a larger 4-year process. And it all kind of revolves around the election and who sticks around, who doesn't, who rises, who falls. Like if you were around in 2016, there were mainstay names, household names in 2016 when it came to that election cycle that are gone, just totally gone, disappeared, never see them, never hear from them. And, you know, that's an 8-year time span, but it happens in 4 years, it happens in 8 years. Sometimes it happens in 2 years. What happened in 8 years, I'd say, is now happening in 8 months. The political realignment, specifically in the media mostly, but I suppose it happens in the actual political world too, and in D.C. a little bit. It's a lot narrower there because most people in politics have to play by party rules. So it's like, you know, Marjorie Taylor Greene kind of stands out and Thomas Massie kind of stands out. Because most people have to play by the rules and play with the party lines and do what the donor class wants them to do, and the donor class buys all the politicians. So they all kind of move in unison, and when somebody doesn't, they stick out like a sore thumb, where in the media, it's a lot different. It's more organic. It's more diverse. It's a broader spectrum. But now what you're seeing is what would normally be about 8 years of a political realignment in the media has happened in 8 months. In 8 months. And it's funny. Here's a good example for you. And I've got this in the stack of news today. Who would have had Nayland Haley? Nayland Haley. This is the son of Nikki Haley. Nayland Haley is now more of an America First patriot than a lot of these huge names that have been MAGA for 8 years. Nayland Haley is now more America first than Laura Loomer. That's how fast this stuff is happening now. Now, Laura Loomer is always going to be a big name. Laura Loomer and her groundbreaking investigative reporting and a lot of the scoops she gets, her big social media following, she's not going anywhere. Don't get me wrong. Laura Loomer is here. She's already made it through the political election cycles. She's cemented in. She'll be here as long as she wants. But as far as America first, as far as American patriots, forget MAGA. It's dead. It's zombie land. So it's now America first, quickly morphing into America only. Nayland Haley is now a better representation of America first ideology than Laura Loomer is. That's how fast this cycle is moving. That's the acceleration that we're witnessing right now. Now, I got more examples of this that I want to get into. And we're going to dive into the Trump interview, which was beyond a disaster. And let me get one thing out of the way quickly. And I'm gonna come back to this later in the show because I do have a story on this specific issue in the stack today. But I want to do this before I hit a couple of these headlines, and then we go to the Trump interview with Laura Ingraham. Here's the question. Was Charlie Kirk the last pipeline to the American people that President Trump had? Was Charlie Kirk the last voice of reason and the last person that actually had his roots into the grassroots, into the foundational MAGA, but more broadly, generally speaking, was Charlie Kirk the last person that had access to President Trump, that had access to President Trump's ear? Was Charlie Kirk the last person that had that access that was still in tune with the American people? Because it's starting to look that way. Now, you think about the implications of that. You think about the implications of that and everything we've seen since his assassination, it really makes the entire assassination story even heavier, doesn't it? It really makes you wonder about who and why had Charlie killed. Now, it could be coincidental. You could still believe the official narrative. I don't. I'm not sure what I believe. I don't believe anything outside of we're being lied to. At this moment, that's what I believe. I don't know what I believe after that. But that's heavy, and I think the circumstantial evidence of what we've seen since Charlie's assassination could have you believe, and I guess it's been 2 months now, just over 2 months, Charlie Kirk might have been the last voice of reason in Trump's ear. Charlie Kirk might have been the last connection that President Trump had to the American people. And, to Charlie's credit, obviously he existed in the world of political elites. He was rubbing shoulders and rubbing elbows with the world of political elites. And Charlie was able to do something that's very rare in that world. Charlie was able to exist in that world and yet maintain his connection to the common man and still understand where the average American is coming from, whether he agreed with them or not. And it seems now that Charlie was the last voice that had that connection to the American people that was in Trump's ear. Because it seems now there is nobody giving Trump good information. It seems now that Trump has zero connection to the average American or the MAGA base. That's what it would appear. And you've really reached a point now, it's unarguable. It's played out, folks. The argument's already done. It's totally played out. The only people, and even they are starting to kind of shrug their shoulders a little bit and say, whoa, things are going wrong here. When you talk about the H-1B visas, when you talk about bringing in the Chinese to bail out the universities, when you talk about the bailouts for the Argentinian beef markets and everything else. But even they are now starting to kind of say, whoa, this is getting weird. Even the MAGA cultists are kind of starting to sit back a little bit and say, But we all know what it is. If you love and support and are loyal to Israel, then you're still on Team MAGA. Or whatever you think is still MAGA. MAGA's zombie land. MAGA's dead. And by the way, they've realized this too. I've got the proof of that today. They know MAGA's dead. So now they've changed their tactic. It used to be, oh, if you don't support Israel, get out of MAGA. If you don't support everything Trump does, get out of MAGA. So now they've destroyed MAGA. Now they've pushed everybody out of MAGA. Now they've built these walls around MAGA. And they realize that the party on the outside is 10 times bigger than their little fiefdom on the inside. So now they're like, oh, wait a second. No. Come back to us. Come on back into the party. Our doors are open. Nobody wants in. You guys ruined it. You guys suck. It's done. You killed MAGA. It's over. It's zombie land now. So congrats. You can have your little MAGA fiefdom, but now you're realizing that you're not very popular. Your MAGA fiefdom is not fun, and nobody wants to go to your party. But these are the dividing lines, and it's never been more clear. Now, I'm going to get to the Trump interview, but first let me hit a couple of these headlines before we do so. All right. So how much have we heard from the DOJ? And how much have we gotten? DOJ launches investigation into UC Berkeley unrest outside Turning Point USA event. Federal probe examines whether First and 14th Amendment violations occurred during November 10th incident. I can't even keep up with it anymore. There have been all of these different investigations, or it's on Bondi's desk, or, we've heard it all. We've heard it all since the start of this administration from Pam Bondi and the DOJ about all the stuff they're going to do, and they've done none of it. They've done none of it. And I can't think of a better juxtaposition of two instances that show us what's really going on right now. A man, a college student, goes up to Dave Portnoy on the streets of Mississippi and drops change on the ground and says, like, go away, Jew, or something like that. Very offensive, very rude. The type of stuff that 99% of people would say, we don't want that. 99% of people would say, we're not interested in that type of activity. We're not interested in that type of a street protest. So it's not popular stuff. But you know what? You know how you make it popular? You make it popular by making a bigger issue out of it than it is. You make it popular by going after that individual and removing them from their college and arresting them. So now it's a big thing. So now it's this huge deal. And, Portnoy, who's done nothing, who's had really bad, I think, PR, and the public perception of who he is and his character has been declining recently. Portnoy could probably, if he had good PR, Portnoy would be going out today and say, hey, look, the young college student that came up to me and made an anti-Jewish joke, made an anti-Semitic joke or an anti-Semitic statement or whatever, however he wants to frame it, the guy who came out and made that joke does not belong in jail, and he should not be kicked out of his university. And even though I find his free speech detestable, and even though I think the things that he said should not be said in a public space or even at all, I still stand by his right to say it. Now, of course, Portnoy has not said anything of the sort, and I think the exact opposite has been suggested in the PR battle over this story, that they want this guy's life destroyed. They want his life destroyed for making that joke. But see, there's an entire left-wing terrorist organization that is still running rampant in this country. They were beating people outside of the event at UC Berkeley. terrorizing people that attended the event, terrorizing the TPUSA staff and speakers. They were terrorizing white people, saying, go home, white boy, making all kinds of anti-white jokes, beating up white people and bragging about it. All of that happened. So here we go again. Somebody makes an offensive joke to Jews. He's going to jail. Meanwhile, the left-wing terror cells are still operating at full capacity. And where are the arrests? Oh, sure, they arrest some street vermin. Yeah, they've got a couple street vermin that they've gotten off the streets, and they'll probably throw them in jail for a decade. But you said you were going after the organizers. You said you were going after the funders. You said you were going to tear this entire left-wing terror operation down to the ground, and you've done none of it. And so it happened again at Berkeley. And just like you have every time in the past, you come out and make a strong statement and say you're launching an investigation. Well, guess what? We've heard it before, and nothing happens. So we're just not buying it. Oh, but don't worry, guys. Don't worry, guys, because Just the News is reporting, and by the way, as I've told you in the past, they get exclusives from the DOJ. So I guarantee you, this is some level of, they got this directly from the DOJ. Clinton corruption files. Bondi and Patel unleash new evidence about former First Family Foundation. Oh, we're investigating the Clintons now. And they made this claim, just like they did with the Russiagate documents, that they found these documents hidden in a cellar somewhere. They were hidden from the public. They didn't want anybody to find them. It's just all BS. This is red meat for you, folks. Nobody from the Clinton crime family will be arrested by this Department of Justice. Nobody. I hope I'm wrong. I'd love to be proven wrong. But unfortunately, I rarely, if ever, am. This is desperation. The DOJ is failing. Pam Bondi is an utter failure. Kash Patel, a failure. It seems as though Kash Patel and his legal team is now more interested in protecting his girlfriend's public status. Girlfriend, not wife. Girlfriend's public status than they are actually doing their job. And so to Kash Patel, I say this. Kash, just put a ring on it, man. I mean, you're traveling around the country on the FBI private jet to watch your girlfriend work. That's her job. She sings the national anthem. She's a performer. So she works at sporting events and political events, and they pay her to perform and sing the national anthem. That's her job. So, Kash, if you're so obsessed, and hey, good for you, a man, he's like 40-something years old. Man, if you can still tap into that level of love, if you can still find that as an older man, you know, usually that's kind of reserved for teenagers and college kids that are just going through it for the first time. But hey, Kash, if you're there with your girlfriend, you know, put a ring on it, bud. Put a ring on it, man. Because this whole deal of using the FBI jet to go watch your girlfriend work and do her job, and now have this law firm that you're tied into suing people that are critical of her and making accusations and assumptions about her, this ain't it, Kash. And you can sit here and say, oh, look, we found some Clinton documents. See? Oh, look over here. It ain't working, bud. It ain't working. And it might be one thing if this was your wife. It's not. So, you know, either go ahead and put a ring on it and deal with this stuff as this is your spouse now, or maybe try to be the FBI director and do the job that you promised the American people you would. You don't have to take my advice, but there it is. But it's not good. And now Scott Bessent is coming out, and he says that the $2,000 stimulus check will be going out to people that earn less than $100,000. Now, here's the problem, folks. Here's the problem. people that make $100,000 and more also now live paycheck to paycheck. That is just true. That's the state of the economy. Now, I would just say, generally speaking, it doesn't really seem appropriate. I don't know if appropriate is the right word. It's bad policy. It's selective application of bad policy. That's what we'll call it. To say that we're only going to give $2,000 to people making less than $100,000, which I guess the government knows because of the IRS. They shouldn't even know that anyway. The government shouldn't even know that. Quite frankly, in my opinion, the government shouldn't know how much money you make because it's none of their business. But we have the IRS, which needs to be abolished. So, okay, the government knows everything about you. They know how much money you make, or they think they do. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to apply this. They probably don't even know. But they say, oh, you make under $100,000, we'll give you $2,000 stimulus check. How can you do that? How is that even legal? And I'm not even saying it's a bad idea. I get it. It's saying, hey, the lower class in this country is struggling. Let's see if we can, bail them out for a month. And that's all it'll do. $2,000. $2,000 will give you a 2-month breathing room max right now in this country. For the lower class people, that $2,000 will give them about a 2-month breathing room. So you're not really doing much anyway. But okay, I'm not even saying it's inherently a bad idea. I think it's coming from a good place. It's coming from an attempt at understanding and an attempt to give them a little more oxygen in their tank that's down to zero. So I get why you're doing it. But how can you do that? How can you do selective application of policy like this and say it's only for these people over here, not for everybody else? And here's an even better idea that I don't know why this isn't discussed more often. Actually, I do. It's because D.C. is corrupt. But here's the real solution. You don't need to give Americans $2,000 in a stimulus check. Why don't you stop taking $2,000 from them every year in the form of federal taxes? There's how you do it. There's how you do it. And if you really want to have some form of selective application of policy to bail out the lower class, then let me tell you how to handle that one too. Say anybody making less than $250,000 a year in the United States of America, no taxes. No federal taxes, no income taxes. You are exempt from all federal taxes. If you make less than $250,000 a year in America, you're totally exempt from all federal taxes. There you go. There's the bailout. If you want to do selective application of policy towards a specific group of people, which shouldn't be legal anyway, but you're doing it. So that's how you do it. Stop taxing people. I wonder, do you think any of this is even going to happen, by the way? Seriously, do you think they're going to do it or not? Meanwhile, red state judge chooses new congressional map in fight that could reshape House control. Republican-drawn congressional map rejected in favor of plan creating a Democrat-leaning district. So the gerrymandering wars are on, and both the Republicans and the Democrats have scored some victories. So it looks like it's probably going to kind of nullify itself out. So I'm not sure if all the gerrymandering happening either way is going to change the election results. I think it'll change the election results at a state level, but at a national level, I think it's all going to kind of nullify itself out. Now here's more from the desk of the president on the economic issues. Now, this is what we really need to be doing, and I've seen a lot of these graphs going around X, but somebody needs to do like a master set. But this is just one example when we're talking about the car payments. Buying a $50,000 car with a standard 6-year loan at the current average interest rate of 9.4% would cost you $65,000. So you're really buying a $50,000 car for $65,000. You would pay $93,000 with a 15-year loan. So you buy a $50,000 car, you get a 15-year loan. That $50,000 car is actually a $93,000 car. This isn't to make car ownership accessible. It's to keep people in debt and makes Trump's Wall Street donors more money. Now, apparently, this thing is obviously a joke because, everybody's making fun of the new 50-year mortgage plan. But regardless, the application here is it's time for people to get a better understanding of what these loans really mean. And you can use car loans because probably more people have a car loan today than a mortgage. I could be wrong about that. I suppose that's an easy thing to look up. Here's what it is. What we need to do to effectively communicate what these interest rates and these loans are really all about. And this is why college students get screwed so badly. And I know, well, they sign the line and all these numbers are given to them, but it's not really understood. It's not really comprehended what's going on. So what you really need to do is you need to say, okay, I just bought a $50,000 car, whatever, 36-month loan, whatever, 6-year loan. So that's actually, you're buying a car for $65,000. Would you still do it? Same thing with the house. Hey, I'm buying this house for $450,000. I'm going to get a 30-year mortgage. So you get the 30-year mortgage. You're actually buying a $450,000 house for $800,000. Would you still buy it? Because now people are crunching the numbers and they're realizing you might as well rent. And you say, well, what about the equity? There's no guarantee of equity. There's no guarantee of equity at all. Especially at the interest rates you're paying. Interest is wiping out equity. So now you're faced with a situation. You could be paying $2,000 a month in rent, or let's say $2,800 a month on your mortgage. We'll span that out over, let's say, 4 years. I think the average time in a house is maybe 8 years, I think I read, but let's just say for 4 years. Well, you span that out over 4 years and imagine that $800 difference every month, and you put that away, and now that's your equity. But when you are trying to sell your house and you have the interest rates, maybe you can't make what you paid for it, guess what? You just lost all your equity. You don't have any equity, and you ended up losing money because you paid more per month than you would have if you rented. And if you rented, and if you would have kept that cash difference between your rent, your monthly rent, and your monthly mortgage, and you would have put that in a savings account, now you would actually have cash on hand. So even the idea of buying a house to get into the asset column and get the equity out of the house, even that is dying. Even the interest is now killing your equity. Now, I will say, apparently Pulte is working on something. I think he called it a legacy or now they're calling it a portable mortgage. Now, that is something that might actually work, where if you have a mortgage, you can transfer that to your next purchase. And so you can keep your interest rate and you can basically just roll over what you've already paid. And so that can give you kind of less financial transactions in that process. And this is where you should be leaning on these massive development companies or these massive agencies like BlackRock and Vanguard that have bought all the houses. Then now they're going to have to hold on to that when the American person can just move into their next house, keep their interest rate, and roll over the value they have into their next home and keep it process-free, pain-free. And let the big real estate companies, let the big billionaire class deal with the process and that payment and that pain. Giving the 50-year mortgage does nothing, and they've realized it's not even popular. And so now 50-year mortgage, $450,000 house costs $1 million. Do you want to pay $1 million for that house? Because that's what it is now. And you might find most people aren't interested in paying $1 million for a $450,000 house. You might find that to be the case. But do they even understand it? Are they even financially literate enough to understand it? That's the question. All right, we're about to get into this Trump-Ingram interview. I want to tell you about my friends at CHOQ Supplements. That's CHOQ Men's testosterone levels have declined 1% a year on average after the age of 30. Boy, we're all seeing it too, aren't we? Even worse, men's testosterone levels on average are half of what they were 50 years ago. Testosterone is more than just your manhood. It's critical for mental clarity, mood, sleep, and overall vitality. The Patriots at CHOQ.com, that's CHOQ.com, have formulated a blend of natural herbal supplements that support your body's natural testosterone production. Just one ingredient in their male vitality stack has boosted free testosterone levels more than 50% in just 3 weeks. And right now, you can get 25% off your CHOQ subscription for life. Just go to CHOQ.com, that's spelled CHOQ.com, and use the promo code OWEN, and you will get 25% off any subscription for life. And yes, that does include the Male Vitality Stack, or the Ultra Male Vitality Stack, by the way. CHOQ is made in America, and their all-American customer service team is standing by to assist you. That's CHOQ.com, promo code OWEN for 25% off your lifetime subscription. And by the way, I think I've just now crossed over the 3-week threshold. And so, as I told people, you know, I am going to be very selective about the supplements that we promote here. But I was able to do a test run, and I'm continuing, by the way. Every morning I still do my Male Vitality Stack from CHOQ.com. So, yes, these are fully backed by the Owen Report. These supplements are tested, tried, and true by Owen Schroyer, verified, now being promoted. That's the process we go through with our supplements, and I can tell you the results are good enough for me to continue to do it every morning. They'll be good enough for you too. CHOQ.com and promo code OWEN to get 25% off your subscription for life. Okay, we've got the Trump interview now. We're going to go to some of these important clips. What a disaster. What a disaster. And it seems every time Trump does these exclusive Fox News interviews, whether it's Hannity or now Ingram, it always bites him. I don't know why he continues to do it. Unless he's being told to do it, I don't know. But it bites him in the ass every time. But this Ingram one might be the worst yet. This Ingram one, you could say, was the worst he's done. That's how bad it is. And how much have I been warning about this? How much have I been warning that telling people the economy is good is killing us? It's not true, and you're insulting people when you say it. So I don't know why Trump continues to say this. But here he goes again. He just can't help himself.
The economy was listed as a top concern. I know you know this, for voters in New Jersey, New York, Virginia. And I've been all over the affordability issue today and for the last several months. Eggs, gas, dinner costs for Thanksgiving way down. But other things, as you noted, have gone up. Beef, coffee, auto repairs. Is this a voter perception issue of the economy, or is there more that needs to be done by Republicans on Capitol Hill, or done in terms of policy?
More than anything else, it's a con job by the Democrats. They're saying, they just have to say, you know, they put out something, say today costs are up. They feed it to the anchors of ABC, CBS, and NBC, and a lot of other, and, you know, CNN, and et cetera. And it's like a standard. I'll never forget, they had used a word like manufactured. Do you remember the word manufactured? It's a manufactured economy. Nobody uses that word. Every anchor broke the manufactured. They do exactly what they say. It's such a rigged system. So are you ready? Costs are way down. Gasoline is going to be hitting $2 pretty soon, or around $2. Gasoline is at $2.70 now, and it was at $4.50 under Biden, under Sleepy Joe. When gasoline comes down, when energy comes down, and everybody agrees energy's down, we're drill, you know, drill, baby, drill.
Everybody agrees. Do you agree? Do you agree energy is down? I don't. My energy bills have not gone down. My price at the pump has gone down a little bit, a small amount, nothing significant though. So again, who is he talking to? Who says, oh, everybody agrees energy costs are down? Everybody agrees that the affordability crisis is over. Who? Who is everybody? Who is telling you this, President? Whoever is telling you this garbage is lying to you.
We're going like wild. We produce more gasoline, oil and gas in the last month than we ever have before by far. And we're going to also end up filling up the national strategic.
Do you believe that, by the way? I don't know. I'm not saying reports of that could be true. I'm not hearing about it. And I do remember in Trump's first term, when we did do the drill, baby, drill, and we did do the new pipelines, and we did get the oil industry back up and humming, I remember that was a big story. And we heard from the rig workers. We heard from the people in the oil fields. It was a huge boom. People were getting hired for jobs, $100,000 a year, $200,000 a year, full benefits. It was huge in Texas. It was a boom in Texas. So we actually heard about that. That actually did happen in the first term. I'm not hearing about that. I'm not hearing a peep about that. Now, that doesn't mean it's not happening, but there's a case that if it was happening, we'd hear about it because we did in the first term. So why aren't I hearing about it?
Reserves, which were taken out by Biden in order to try and win an election, didn't work out too well. They tapped in. That's supposed to be for war, for national emergency, not to get.
So are you saying that voters are
they're being fed a
misperceiving
conjure.
how they feel, or?
So when I took over, you remember?
Because you said Biden did that too, because he was saying things were great, but
let's
things
say
weren't great.
it's synonymous, Biden and Kamala, because you didn't know who the hell was campaigning. I mean, it got to a point. So I was up by 20 points on Biden or some crazy number. And they.
Now he's just flopping around, folks. He doesn't have the answers. He can't blame Biden and Harris. This is bad. And it's not even that it's like Ingram set him up for failure. These are legitimate questions. But he's flopping around. It's not working.
He said, all right, let's get him out. We'll put a new one. This never happened to anybody. All of a sudden, I have somebody new. And they had the 6-week honeymoon, which was standard in the world of politics. You get a little honeymoon. And she had her little honeymoon, but then eventually people got to know her, too. And then they had the 60.
Yeah, we don't care. We don't care about Kamala Harris. What are you even talking about? Why are you talking about Kamala Harris? We're talking about the economy that you claim is great that's not great. What are you talking about, Harris? What are you talking about, Biden? Oh, you think Americans are being misled by their own eyes? You think Americans are being misled by their own bank account, their own budget, their own price at the pump and the grocery store? This is ridiculous, President Trump. You're insulting the American people now. More on the economy from President Trump.
Somebody that's.
And why are people saying they're anxious about the economy? Why are they saying that?
I don't know that they are saying. I think polls are fake. We have the greatest economy we've ever had. We have. We will have.
Greatest economy we've ever had. That's why we're doing 50-year home mortgages. That's why we're doing $2,000 stimulus checks. That's why we're renegotiating trade because the deficit is so bad. Because it's the greatest economy ever. I mean, this is an embarrassment, President Trump. What is going on?
Over $20 trillion come into our economy, and it's largely because of my election, but it's also largely because of.
By the way, we're finding out most of these numbers aren't even real, folks.
Of tariffs. Even somebody that's.
So he says, oh, the tariffs, which is hanging in the balance at the Supreme Court, so that might not pan out. So, no, you can't point to the tariffs. He talks about the investments that all these companies said that they would make. Well, guess what? Turns out they didn't have the money. Turns out they don't even have the money, folks. So this $20 trillion number that he keeps pointing out, it might not even exist. So the tariffs might not exist. All these deals, people said, oh, we're investing in America. Turns out, folks, they don't have the money. And let me tell you what else is going to happen. If these tariffs fail, and the companies that might have the money and might have the desire to come back, if these tariffs fail and corporate taxes are not cut then they are not coming. They're not coming. And that 20 trillion is going to quickly dwindle down to 1 trillion to 0 trillion. That's how this is going to go. And I guess he just figures that, and maybe I understand the mindset. I guess Trump just figures whatever I say, my people will believe. Whatever slop I put on the plate, my followers will eat. Yeah, there's definitely a Trump cult out there. Yeah, there's definitely whatever's left of MAGA is just brainless zombie land. So, okay, I can kind of get why Trump might think that, hey, I can just say and do whatever I want. These mindless zombie MAGA cultists are going to follow me anyway, so whatever, who cares? But Trump, this is where you're mismeasuring things. That MAGA cult, that mindless zombie cult, whatever is left of it, is tiny. It's tiny, Mr. President. And there ain't a single politician, including yourself, that could ever win an election with whatever is left of this MAGA coalition. And it's all going the wrong direction. So you can sit here and say, greatest economy, greatest economy. People don't believe it because it's not true. And yes, if you think the inflation of your ego or the inflation of your status because of the MAGA cult, oh, yes, President, oh, greatest economy ever, oh, he's so great, bah. If you really think that that'll fill you up to keep you above water with your ratings, you're about to learn the hard way. It ain't working. It ain't working. But somebody's gatekeeping all of this information from Trump. It's pretty clear. This one really pissed people off.
Folks are not thrilled about this idea of hundreds of thousands of foreign students in the United States. We have about 350,000 Chinese. One point during COVID, you were going to, push to, get them out, but that was pulled back. You've said as many as 600,000 Chinese students could come to the United States. Why, sir, is that a pro-MAGA position when so many American kids want to go to school and there are places not for them, and these universities are getting rich off Chinese money?
Sure. Never said about China, but we do have a lot of people coming in from China. We always have, China and other countries. We also have a massive system of colleges and universities. And if we were to cut that in half, which perhaps makes some people happy, you would have half the colleges in the United States go out of business.
So what?
Well, I think that's a big deal.
Are they fans
You would have the
of the United States?
Yeah, but you would have, as you know, historically, black colleges and universities would all be out of business. You would have a system of colleges.
Now, a couple things to consider. One, when he talks about the HBCUs, remember, Trump signed a bill and had a funding agenda in his first administration to make sure that those HBCUs were funded for at least another decade. So what happened to that? So did that not happen? Was that a lie? Did he forget about that? Is Trump now trying to tie in the collapse of college universities and say, oh, we can't do it because of the poor black colleges? What is he even talking about here? Now, we'll get into the larger issue of should the colleges collapse or not, but specifically on that, Trump, do you forget you signed a policy to fund them for a decade? So did that not happen? Was that a lie? Did you forget about that? Or are you just tying this whole thing into the HBCUs as some weird virtue signal?
And universities.
So we're dependent on China to keep our university system going?
But I think it's good to have, I actually think it's good to have outside countries. Look, I want to be able to get along with the world.
They're not the French. They're the Chinese. They spy on us. They steal our intellectual property.
What, do you think the French are better?
Yeah.
I mean,
all right, let's pause it right there because I've got a clip dedicated to this coming up. This is such a mismeasurement from Trump that I can't even understand it, except that I think I know what happened here. And I'm not the only one theorizing this. But here's how I think this went down. I think this is all about the TikTok deal. That's what I think. And when you understand how Trump negotiates with leverage, it makes sense. But I think this was about the TikTok deal. And I think Trump talked to the Chinese and, Trump obviously working on behalf of Israel, wanted the transfer of TikTok from the Chinese to the Israelis so that they could control the speech there. The Chinese control the speech there, too. So this isn't some endorsement of China running social media. Let's be clear. China controls speech on social media, too. But China controls it in a different way than Israel would. And Israel was getting crushed on TikTok. Just crushed. So Trump, who works on behalf of Israel, cut a deal with China and said, all right, look, I'll allow you to continue to send your college students to America. I'll let you continue to send your college students to America, which will include spies, no doubt. So I'll let you continue to send 600,000 Chinese to American universities every year. I'll let that continue, but you're going to make the TikTok deal so that Israel can control speech on there. You're going to make the TikTok deal so that Israel can censor speech on TikTok to make sure that people can't see what they're up to in the Gaza Strip. And that's the deal. That's the deal that got cut. So Trump has to fulfill his side of the deal. Trump has to fulfill his part of the bargain, which is China gets to continue to send hundreds of thousands of students to America, and Israel gets to take control of TikTok. And you know who loses in that negotiation? America. America loses, Israel wins. And I'm not trying to get back into this right now because I've got more coming up. We already addressed it. But this is the issue, folks. This is why it's such a big issue. Everybody sees it. Trump has sacrificed America first, and Trump has leveraged America first politics to negotiate on behalf of Israel's interests. And I believe that's what this deal was. I believe Trump cut the deal to let the Chinese continue to send hundreds of thousands of students to the U.S., bail out the college system to do it, so that he could negotiate a deal with China to sell off TikTok so that Israel could control the content on there. And I don't think that's too far-fetched of a conspiracy theory at all, quite frankly. And by the way, just to do a little added coverage here, Laura Loomer says, we love Trump. Yes, we know. But we can all agree we need less Chinese and less Muslims in America. Now, can you imagine if somebody said that about Jews? Just saying. Yeah. You'd probably be in prison the rest of your life, and the DOJ would be knocking at your door. But you're allowed to say that about anybody else. She then goes on. Most of the Chinese students are spies. Okay. Tell me you never went to college. I don't know. Did Laura ever go to college? Tell me you never went to college. Tell me that you don't know any foreign students. You've never met a foreign student. You've never met a foreign exchange student. You've never met a Chinese person. Because that's what you just told me. Most of the students are spies. Do you realize how ridiculous you sound? You're totally ignorant. And you don't even care. You don't even care how ignorant you are. You just say this crap. I'm somebody that actually has been to a university. I'm somebody that actually has met foreign exchange students. I'm somebody that actually has met foreign students, specifically Chinese students. And I will tell you, no, most of them are not spies. Are there spies? Absolutely. 100% there are spies. Hundreds, maybe thousands. 300,000 Chinese spies are not coming to America going to college every year. That is ridiculous. And if you ever met a Chinese foreign student, or you ever met a Chinese foreign national who came here to study, you would know that. But clearly you haven't. And so you say stupid, ignorant stuff like this. It's ridiculous. So let's get back into the second part of that clip about the French and the Chinese.
I think it's good to have outside countries. Look, I want to be able to get along with the world.
They're not the French. They're the Chinese. They spy on us. They steal our intellectual property.
What, do you think the French are better?
Yeah.
Really? I don't know. I'll tell you, I'm not so sure. We've had a lot of problems with the French, where we get taxed very unfairly on our technology. With
So the French are no better than the Chinese.
They put 25% taxes on American products. Historically, black colleges and
You know, there might be something else about that French deal. I don't know. I think that that attack on the French is coming from something else. I don't know what. I don't know what it is, but that to pretend like the French and the Chinese are the same geopolitically for U.S. foreign relations. I mean, come on. I mean, it's just, this stuff is ridiculous, folks. This stuff is ridiculous. But hey, he said it. He said it. The conversation on China went on. Here's what Trump said next.
A new detailed report on CNN, of all places, documents China's expansion of 60% of its missile facilities. It's staggering, bigger than anyone had ever thought, more robust growth. And over the weekend, the new Japanese prime minister, who I know you like a lot, Takaichi, called the Taiwan situation extremely severe in its phase, and that they may consider any move on Taiwan by China to be a national survival crisis for Japan. Now, that gets better, a Chinese diplomat today said in a social media post that she, the Prime Minister of Japan, should be beheaded for her comments. These are not our friends, sir, are they, in China?
Well, a lot of our allies aren't our friends either, Laura. Our allies took advantage of us on trade more than China did.
Now, this is actually the best part of the interview, and he's 100% right. I want to play this again. This is the best part of the interview right here. And this is why we're America first, and this is why it's becoming America only. Because of this exact thing right here. And this is not all President Trump's fault. No, in fact, it's probably 0% President Trump's fault. This is the fault of all the past politicians, the past Congresses, the past White House administrations. This is their fault. They're the ones that sold us out to foreign interests. They're the ones that sold our economy out. They're the ones that did the bad trade deals, not President Trump. Not President Trump. So this was really probably the best part for him of the interview, was just telling it like it is right here. And I think this extends, folks. Who are our allies? Do we have any allies, really? Or do we just have leeches? Because it sounds to me like we just have leeches.
A lot of our allies aren't our friends either, Laura. Our allies took advantage of us on trade more than China did. And China took big advantage. I mean, we built, because
we built their military.
We built their military. We built their whole thing.
Yeah, well, China's not the only one that you could make that claim with, obviously. So I would say that was probably the only part of the interview, even though it takes a little bit of a turn at the end. That was the only part of the interview where it's like, yes, President Trump, now you're highlighting a real issue. Then we got into the 50-year mortgages. Yikes. Yikes. And this part of it was a disaster.
Housing costs are still out of reach. And another thing that your administration is trying to tackle, many Americans, the average age of first-time home buyers are now up to age 40, which is sad. The country you and I grew up in.
I inherited that. Look, you have to understand.
Right, but let me get to the question, though, because your housing director has proposed something that has enraged your MAGA friends, which is this 50-year mortgage idea. So a significant MAGA backlash, calling it a giveaway to the banks and simply prolonging the time it would take for Americans to own a home outright. Is that really a good idea?
It's not even a big deal. I mean, you go from 40 to 50 years, and what it means is you pay something less from 30. That some people had a 40, and then now they have a 50. All it means is you pay less per month. You pay it over a longer period of time. It's not like a big factor. It might help a little bit. But the problem was that Biden did this. He increased the interest rates, and I have a lousy Fed person who's going to be gone in a few months.
So did he even know? He says 40, 50. How much is he even paying attention? And I mean, I'm not even mad at that because he's got so much going on. But it's just like this was a big deal. And for him not to be prepared to answer that question, it's just the whole thing is coming off the rails, man. The whole thing is coming off the rails. Actually, it's already off the rails and crashed and burned, if we're being honest. He was asked about the H-1Bs.
Balance, and Republicans have to talk about it.
And does that mean the H-1B visa thing will not be a big priority for your administration, because if you want to raise wages for American workers, you can't flood the country with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of foreign workers.
You also do have to bring in talent. When
we have plenty of talented people here.
No, you don't.
We don't have talented people here.
No, you don't have. You don't have certain talents, and people have to learn. You can't take people off an unemployment line and say.
So tell me, President Trump, then why are we bailing out the colleges? If the colleges aren't preparing Americans for the real world, then why are we bailing out the colleges? Now, this is aside from the insult that you just hurled at the working class Americans. So aside from the just blatant insult that you just threw to all Americans, that they're not good enough and they're not talented. So aside from that egregious offense, if the universities are not preparing Americans for the real world, then why are you bailing them out? Of course, we know the answer is so that Israel could take control of TikTok. But you have to think, folks. You have to think logically. You have to think critically. You have to connect these dots when things don't make sense. You have to find a way to make sense of them. So there's your perfect example right there. Oh, Americans aren't talented. They're not prepared for the jobs. Well, isn't that what college is for? And if the college isn't preparing them for the jobs, then Americans shouldn't want to go to college. And then the colleges should have to adapt and either lower their costs or change their curriculum. Instead, you're going to bail them out with Chinese money and then tell Americans they're just not good enough. Sorry. What an absolute disgusting failure this was. And you know, I don't even know if I should say this, but you know what? There's Laura Ingraham is like 4'10". Okay. Laura Ingraham is about 4'10". And the only reason why I say that is this is our president. This is supposed to be the most powerful man in the world. This is the guy that we elected, our strong man, to get up here and save the country. And I'm sorry, but a 4'10" woman just made you look like a fool. You just got played as a fool by a 4'10" woman caked in makeup on Fox News, President Trump. That's not the leader I elected.
I'm going to put you into a factory where we're going to make missiles, or I'm going to put.
How did we ever do it before?
Well, look.
And I love. And by the way, hey, credit to Laura Ingraham here. Let me just. Hey, I'm not taking anything away from Laura Ingraham. She pressed the president. She asked the questions and she pressed him. She did her job. So no attack on Ingraham here. Just to be clear. He starts talking about missiles. So I've got Lindsey Graham saying, everything is great. We ran out of bombs. I've got President Trump saying we need to make more missiles. What is going on? What kind of brain rot do you guys have? What kind of spell are you guys under now by the war cult? This is now the military-industrial complex running this administration. What in the hell is going on?
When you and I were
I'll give you an example. In Georgia, they raided because they wanted illegal immigrants out. They had people from South Korea that made batteries all their lives. You know, making batteries are very complicated. It's not an easy thing. It's very dangerous. A lot of explosions, a lot of problems.
Yeah, so we need to fix our education system then.
They had like 500 or 600 people, early stages, to make batteries and to teach people how to do it. Well, they wanted them to get out of the country. You're going to need that, Laura. I mean, I know you and I disagree on this. You can't just say a country's coming in, going to invest $10 billion to build a plant, and going to take people off an unemployment line who haven't worked in 5 years, and they're going to start making missiles. It doesn't work that way.
Now, look, there's obviously an element of truth to what President Trump is saying here, okay? There's obviously an element of truth to this, okay? But it's a red herring in this conversation. Because what's happening is that he bailed out China. What's happening is that he's working on behalf of the big corporations that would rather pay non-Americans a cheaper wage than what Americans would ask for. The American people are being sold out again, folks. And this time it's President Trump doing it. And look, I do fair coverage here. I do full spectrum fair coverage. Trump might have a reason to be doing this. There might be something else down the line that he thinks it's all going to deliver and work out. Okay. And if and when that day comes, I'll report on it. And I'll say, this is what happened. This is how it went down. But that's not what this is. That's not what this is. This is Trump bailing out the universities. This is Trump cutting a deal with the Chinese communists so that they get rid of TikTok so Israel can go on there and take it over and control censorship of it. This is insulting the American people, telling them they're not talented. This is telling the American people, I'm going to be working on behalf of the big corporations and the big donors that would rather pay somebody from a foreign country half of what they would pay you. But here's President Trump in 2016. What changed? Trump seemed to understand this in 2016. So what changed?
Well, first of all, I think, and I know the H-1B very well, and it's something that I frankly use, and I shouldn't be allowed to use. We shouldn't have it. Very, very bad for workers. And second of all, I think it's very important to say, well, I'm a businessman, and I have to do what I have to do, and it's sitting there waiting for you, but it's very bad. It's very bad for business in terms of, it's very bad for our workers, and it's unfair for our workers, and we should end it.
So what happened? Why the change of heart? Why the change of heart? And so now people are reaching the same conclusion that I reached, that I've been saying. One of the worst Trump interviews, and it isn't particularly close. If Vance wins in 2028, he needs to smack, if Vance wants to win in 2028, he needs to smack Trump figuratively before this becomes irreversible and ends up in a quagmire like Bush after 2006. Folks, it's already done. I've already said it. I like J.D. Vance. And J.D. Vance would be a strong presidential candidate, but I'm telling you, folks, it's over. At this rate, things can change. We're still in the first quarter. Let's just say it. We'll just say it. But at this rate, nobody from this administration will be electable. Nobody, including J.D. Vance. Not a single person from this administration is going to be electable at this current pace. And that is specifically including J.D. Vance. All right? So understand that. We told you here first. Never doubt me, folks.
You're listening to the Owen Report on the Win Network.
Folks, I want to tell you about our friends at My Patriot Supply. And certainly by now you've heard of My Patriot Supply, but have you taken the protective mechanisms to make sure that your family is taken care of in an emergency? And if the answer to that is no, I've got to ask you why. What are you waiting for? Get over to mypatriotsupply.com/Owen and take advantage of the Black Friday Survival Special. Ever since COVID, millions of Americans have started buying preparedness supplies, especially emergency food. This is a good thing, but there's a big mistake most people make with their emergency food supply. They don't have any way to cook food, to cook their emergency food in a real emergency when the power is out or the grid is down. That's why our friends over at My Patriot Supply created their Black Friday Survival Special. It comes with a 4-week food supply plus $150 worth of free gifts, including everything you need to prepare your emergency meals, like a cook stove, fuel, and fire starters, plus a water purifier, bug-out bag, and more. It's the complete survival kit your family needs to ride out natural disasters, civil unrest, or anything worse. It also makes a great Christmas gift, but it's only available through Black Friday. So head to mypatriotsupply.com/Owen to check out everything that's included. With all the uncertainty in the world right now, we simply can't afford to be unprepared. So go to mypatriotsupply.com/Owen and get prepared today. That's mypatriotsupply.com/Owen and get prepared today with this exclusive Black Friday special ahead of the holidays.
Navigating between the sane and insane, it's the Owen Report with Owen Schroyer.
Another socialist won an election in Seattle. Well, golly gee. I can't imagine why socialists would be winning elections when Republicans are telling people how great the economy is, even though you could make a pretty significant case that it's the worst economy in recent American history. Can't understand why socialists would win. And I hate this attitude that you get from conservatives. It's so pathetic. It really is. These are life losers. Oh, well, it's a blue city. Oh, it's just New York City. It's just Seattle. Oh, you like watching our biggest, most important cities? You like watching the biggest metropolitan areas in America go into the hands of socialists and Democrats? You're okay with that? Cool. Losers. They have no interest in trying to win these things because they're losers. It's the same reason why they weren't fighting for Trump in 2015, 2016, or 2020, because they're losers. They're cowards. So no, I'm not okay with socialists winning in New York City or Seattle. I'm not going to fall back on it's just a blue city, so why should I care? Weak, pathetic, losing attitude. And then they will lose. And they'll say, well, I can't figure out why. President Trump endorsed, this is in Texas. President Trump endorsed Greg Abbott. And at the end of this, so he fluffs up Greg Abbott here. And then at the end of it, he says, Greg Abbott has my complete and total endorsement for re-election. He is an exceptional governor and man. He will never let you down. Hey, Mr. Trump. Oh, Mr. Trump. Are you talking to anybody in Texas? Because Abbott has done nothing but let us down. Abbott has been a total letdown. He will never let you down. He already has let us down. Conservatives in Texas can't stand Greg Abbott. And when he wins in the primary, we're forced to go to the polls and hold our nose and close our eyes and vote for him, even though he sucks. He will never let you down. President Trump, can you try to get back in touch with the American people, please? You are so out of touch. It's embarrassing now. If you want to endorse Greg Abbott, fine. We understand you're beholden to the donor class now. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong, President Trump. But fine. If you want to endorse Greg Abbott, fine. I get it. It's politics. Okay. Endorse Greg Abbott. Endorse Lindsey Graham. Fine. Whatever. But don't tell me that Lindsey Graham is MAGA. Don't tell me that Greg Abbott has never let Texans down. You're insulting people, and you're not talking to people because you'd learn real quick that these things are not true. But yeah, I'm sure we'll be stuck with Greg Abbott again. When we have we got a lot of great candidates here in Texas. But when Trump endorses Abbott, yeah, we'll be stuck with the crap Republicans that we get down here in Texas. All right, here you go. Here's a story that is not getting any play in Western media. And, I mean, you can imagine why. They don't like you knowing the truth about foreign affairs. They don't like you knowing the truth about foreign countries and foreign entanglements. Specifically on Ukraine, maybe the biggest money laundering operation of all time. Money received through this scheme was legalized in an office in the center of Kiev, where parallel accounting was carried out and laundering was organized through a network of companies. So it gets into all of this in the story, and a lot of this you could already imagine is exactly what's going on, and it makes the money eventually makes its way to the Ukrainian oligarchs that then buy property in Europe and fancy cars and everything else. Doesn't actually go to war. Doesn't actually go to the fighters who are mostly dead. Doesn't go to the families of the fighters that died. It goes to the oligarchs. It goes to Zelensky's friends in Kiev. It's what you call total corruption. It's what you call money laundering. Zelensky's office linked to $4 million in cash scandal involving nationalized Sensed Bank. They even found the bank that was doing it, folks. Ukrainian anti-corruption investigators, the NABU, found sealed bundles containing $4 million in cash, marked with U.S. city barcodes, money that, according to Ukrainian MP Yaroslav Zelenyuk, may have come through the nationalized Sense Bank. And so they were investigating this. They believe this was part of the war aid, part of the military package and cash that the U.S. was sending there, that they were laundering through this bank to the Ukrainian oligarchs. But hey, keep funding Ukraine. Keep supporting Ukraine. How's that one working out? Ukraine corruption scandal explained. The $100 million plot rocking Zelensky. This is huge news in Ukraine, folks. This is huge news in Europe. And your media is not even touching it. Why is that? Why is it the American media won't even touch this story? It's obviously a very important national interest story. Why aren't they touching it? By the way, let me see if I can pull anything up here quickly on Russia moving towards Ukraine. They just seized another city. Again, nobody's covering this. Ukraine has pulled back troops from southeastern Ukraine as Russia is advancing and taking more land. Russian advances in Ukraine gain momentum. This is all happening. They're about to surround Kiev, folks. It's obvious what's going on. The Russians are going to surround Kiev. They're going to give Zelensky an out. Final opportunity. Zelensky's going to try to put the pressure on the West to stand up and get involved directly. It's not going to happen. And then Russia will probably take Kiev, and America will get nothing. And Europe will get nothing. And then they'll try to reposture it. And they'll say, well, we have to go to war with Russia now because they're at war with Europe. And then Russia will say, hey, we're not interested in any Europe. We're just going into Ukraine. We got issues with Ukraine. It's formerly of Russia anyway, so we're doing business in Ukraine. Don't worry about us. We're not going into Europe. We're not going into NATO countries. And then somebody will probably false flag, blame Russia, and try to start a larger war. Meanwhile, France warns over Caribbean instability as G7 talks open. So France and other European countries are scolding Washington, D.C. for the strikes on the alleged Venezuela drug boats. But it's not just a warning. This is not just a warning that France is giving. Now European countries have taken action. Which countries have stopped sharing intelligence with the United States over boat strikes in Caribbean? Now, of course, you've got all the people out there that love the Five Eyes. They love the intelligence apparatus. Of course, they just pretend they do because they know Israel spies on us all the time. So it's just an excuse. So it's like anything that might implicate Israel in something negative, they always find a way to couch it. They always find a way to attach something else to it to make it acceptable. Oh, the intelligence sharing community. It's so important. Oh my gosh. What would we do without the intel communities? What would we do without the Five Eyes? What would we do about the spy apparatus on the world? Well, now you get to find out. European countries are pausing intelligence briefings with the United States because they're blowing up boats that they claim are Venezuelan drug boats. How about that? How do you feel about that? Where are all the big intelligence community stands? Silent. Now, this is probably an empty gesture. This probably won't last. And yet there it is. There it is. So Europe is taking a stand against the United States bombing these so-called drug boats from Venezuela, and they're saying, we're not sharing intelligence with you anymore because we don't want to be implicated in your deadly strikes that have no congressional approval and no evidence presented to the intelligence community, the international intelligence community, that you're actually hitting drug boats. And even if you did, they'd probably still take an issue with it. They might not stall giving you intelligence briefings, but they would probably still maybe have an issue. No, now they're just saying, we're not giving intelligence with you anymore because we don't want innocent people to be killed off of intelligence that we give you. 76 people have been killed in the 19 strikes by the Trump administration so far. And then it's so bad, the administration came out today, because there's so much heat on this deal now. The administration came out today and said that the actual military officers involved in this are cleared of any wrongdoing. Whoa. Now tell me why the White House would feel the need, or the Pentagon or the State Department, tell me why they would feel the need to make that statement. Hey, any military personnel involved in these deadly strikes with no congressional approval and no evidence of who or what we struck, all military personnel involved in this are clear. They're totally clear. Why would they feel the need to say that? You know, I'm about to get into the Epstein thing. I think that Trump supporters and voters, the former MAGA base, whatever, Americans, however you want to frame this, I think it's time to start maybe wandering into a new mindset of curiosity. Because things are so bad at this point. It's easy to make the excuse, and it could be the main reason for this, but it's kind of the lazy thing to say, well, this is just Trump acting on behalf of a foreign country, or this is just Trump acting on behalf of the big donors, the lobbyists, whatever. No, I think it's time maybe we start thinking a little more critically about this. I think it's time we start to maybe dig a little deeper into why things have gotten so bad so quick. And when you look at a thing like what's going on with the strikes in Venezuela, it's one example of many, but it's for the sake of this conversation with the news and the heaviness of it, we'll kind of use this as the focal point. Is President Trump being set up right now? Do you think anybody is getting this to President Trump's ear, by the way? Mr. President, how much do you trust your advisors? Mr. President, how much do you trust the people in Washington, D.C., to be honest with you? It's a fair question. Could President Trump be getting set up right now as we speak with bad intelligence, resulting in bad decisions that will lead to a bad outcome, including but not limited to him being impeached? Is anybody considering this in your administration, President Trump? Is anybody asking you these questions, Mr. President? Have you considered these things? And this is not to, there's plenty of people upset with President Trump right now. This is not to make any excuses for President Trump. This is a legitimate concern for our country. Mr. President, have you considered that you are being set up right now? You are being set up, Mr. President. And maybe on a bunch of different issues. Maybe on a bunch of different issues you're being set up. But let's just look at the Venezuela issue. Could this be a setup, Mr. President, to have you impeached in 2 years or worse even? Has anybody considered this? Has anybody brought this idea to your head, to your desk, to your policy discussions? Because, Mr. President, I got to tell you right now, I'm looking at this stuff. And it's one thing if you make bad decisions for whatever reason that I disagree with. That's one thing. It's a whole nother thing if you're getting set up, Mr. President, and maybe it's time for you to start considering that you're getting set up right now badly and bigly. You're getting set up, Mr. President. They're setting you up to lose in the midterms and get impeached. They're setting you up. I would think that the president would understand this, be acutely aware of this, and act accordingly. But I have to wonder, based off of his public statements, the Ingram interview, the continued strikes on these alleged drug boats, killing people, I'm starting to think you're being set up, Mr. President. And it would be quite easy to set you up right now, by the way. You're extremely distracted. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of buzz. There's a lot of people constantly in your ear with these tiny little niche issues. You've got your big issues that you're trying to figure out that are complex, like trade. It'd be really easy to set you up right now, Mr. President. Have you considered you're being set up? Have you considered that people are setting you up right now to lose the midterms and impeach you in 2027? Have you considered this, Mr. President? Because I think a lot of the evidence would suggest this is happening right now. It's time to refocus. It's time to recalibrate. Pick your priorities and stick to them. And whatever the priorities you have right now, look, the public appearance of your priorities, it's not good. The public presentation and perception of your priorities, not good. Not good. But you know what? Maybe there's a difference between the public perception and what's going on in your own head. Fair enough. But, Mr. President, you need to recalibrate and you need to reprioritize and you need to decide, I'm focusing on these things and these things only. Because right now, Mr. President, you are being set up big time. You are being set up for a massive fall. And it seems nobody in your administration and none of your advisors is telling you this. And I would even go a step further and say, Mr. President, I think that the people now that you surrounded yourself with, I think they might hate you. I mean that sincerely. If the people that you surrounded yourself with loved you and cared about you, they would be trying to correct course right now. They would be trying to protect you from the inevitable fall that is encroaching. And that's why I go back to what I said last week. You got to fire them all. Or fire half of them. This thing is coming apart at the seams, Mr. President. It's coming apart at the seams. It's a disaster. And at some point, you're going to realize this. At some point, you're going to have the correct response mechanism to this absolute disaster that your administration has become. This complete disaster. Eventually, you're going to have to accept it. But it might be too late then. Might be too late. It might already be too late, quite frankly. But, Mr. President, it's time to hit the reset button. I'd start cleaning house. I'd start mass firings. I'd reprioritize everything. And to the people in your ear, or maybe even the voice in your own head that is telling you it'll be too chaotic, we can't operate like that, ignore these voices, Mr. President. Ignore these voices. The American people can figure it out. We want the government off our back. We want bad foreign policy off our back. We want the donors off our back. We want the lobbyists off our back. Whatever chaos comes in that process, Mr. President, we will endure. The American people will endure chaos and struggle and pain for the right reasons. We will. The problem is, right now, Americans are enduring these things for the wrong reasons. And this is why you're losing support. This is why your approval ratings are tanking. And this is why even some of your biggest supporters are turning against you. Because you're not asking Americans to endure the chaos and the struggle and the pain for good reasons. You're asking Americans to endure the chaos and the struggle and the pain for the wrong reasons. And I'd say, well, I don't even know if you can really put a timetable on it. Some would argue that you're already out of time. But I would just say, Mr. President, if you don't act swiftly in response to these developments, if you're confused or off-put by the likes of Marjorie Taylor Greene right now, which we've got some comments from Trump on that coming up. If you're confused and off-put on that, Mr. President, that is the tip of the iceberg. That is just the tip of the iceberg, Mr. President. Marjorie Taylor Greene is just a sign, just a symptom. So no, it's time for you to recalibrate. It's time for you to reshuffle the deck. It's time for you to reprioritize. It's time for you to level with the American people and just be honest and say, you know what? Yep, the economy is not where we want it to be. It's bad. We're trying to fix it. The healthcare system, unaffordable. The foreign policies, unsustainable. The foreign aid, completely offensive to the American people. So you know what? We're going to actually be an agent of change. We're going to actually change a lot of things, and we're going to dramatically change a lot of things. And in that process, there's going to be chaos, and there's going to be struggle, and there's going to be pain, but we're doing it because we're trying to save our country. The American people will understand, and they will endure. But when the American people are going through this pain and chaos and struggle session, and then you come out and tell them it's not happening, and then the number one priority is foreign policy that is not even popular, the people will turn against you, Mr. President. They already are. And the fact that you don't have anybody in your ear telling you this stuff is a shame. And it makes me wonder if the people that you've surrounded yourself with even like you. They might even hate you. And I think it just leads more credence to this conclusion that I've reached and others, that Charlie Kirk was the last voice of reason in President Trump's ear. Charlie Kirk was the last voice of reason and the last connection to the average American that was able to get into Trump's ear. And now that he's gone, it's not there anymore. He has no connection to the American people. He has no clue what's going on. Because I think if Charlie was still alive today, he would have said something to President Trump that might have stopped him from saying something so stupid as he said today. The Democrats are trying to bring up the Jeffrey Epstein hoax again because they'll do anything at all to deflect on how badly they've done on the shutdown and so many other subjects. President Trump, you are so off base here, man. You are just so off base. What are you talking about? The Democrats have no power right now. Nothing is reflecting on the Democrats right now. They have no power. The Republicans have all the power, Mr. President. And you're calling the Jeffrey Epstein situation a hoax again? Only very bad or stupid Republicans would fall into their trap. What in the hell is this, man? The Democrats cost our country $1.5 trillion with their recent antics of viciously closing our country while at the same time putting many at risk, and they should pay a fair price. Do foreign aid next, President Trump. Tell us how much foreign aid is costing our country. There should be, or the Doge cuts that didn't happen too. That could save us trillions of dollars, but yeah, we ditched that, huh? There should be no deflections to Epstein or anything else, and any Republicans involved should be focused only on opening up our country and fixing the massive damage caused by the Democrats. Well, it's ironic because opening up the country is going to result in the Epstein list again. So it's funny, the whole reason he's bringing this up, because he knows when the government reopens, the Epstein stuff is going to start coming out again, and they're going to start voting to release a lot of this stuff. So the only reason he's making this statement is because he knows it's inevitable. And then he says, we need to open the government and focus on that, which, of course, opening the government is going to end up focusing us back on the Epstein thing. This whole thing is a disaster, folks. This whole thing is a disaster. And I would even argue President Trump would do better for himself. The American people would be more willing to forgive and forget if President Trump just came out and said, you know what? I was friends with Epstein. We hung out. We went to the same parties. We had a lot in common. And I knew he was into young girls. I didn't know how bad it was. When I found out how bad it was, I tried to stop it. And it was really bad. And I have regrets that I was involved with Jeffrey Epstein. And maybe I wasn't the best moral character at the time. And maybe there were things that I should or shouldn't have done when I was friends with him. But there's nothing I can do to change that now. But yes, I was friends with Jeffrey Epstein. The American people would be more willing to forgive and forget that than you coming out and telling us that the whole thing was a hoax. Because that's just a big FU to the American people. You know, you come to the American people humble. You come to the American people meek and sorrowful, which I suppose is not something President Trump does. It's just not in his character. It's not Donald Trump's character to do that, which would actually make it even more significant. But if you approach this like that, the American people would be willing to forgive and forget. But when you come out and you put your middle finger up and you say it's a hoax, no, that's you saying F you to us and us saying F you back. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene, listen to this theory. I wonder if Marjorie Taylor Greene isn't on to something here. How much was the Epstein list part of keeping the government shut down?
If you tune in to CNN or MSNBC any day right now, they think the whole government shutdown on the Republican side is because they don't want to do any work because they don't want to have any votes on Epstein.
Right.
What do you think?
I tell you what, I've started to question, is this why we're not in session?
Really?
Yeah. This is that the discharge petition is sitting there.
Explain that.
So everyone for how many years now, all of us have been calling to release the Epstein files. And Thomas Massie entered a resolution to release it. Yeah. And I'm a co-sponsor. I want to release the Epstein.
By the way, notice how Massie gets a round of applause. She could mention any other politician and they would not get a round of applause. But Massie does. What does that tell you? And again, this is why it's just like Trump, whoever is advising him is just steering him down a path of total oblivion. Going against Massie, you think that's popular? Oh my gosh.
Files. And it's been blocked over and over, unfortunately. And so there's a discharge petition. So just so you know, as a member of Congress, I cannot force my bills to the floor for a vote. Only the speaker can decide to bring a bill to the floor for a vote. And so when the speaker is refusing to bring a bill forward, if 218 members of Congress get together and all sign a discharge petition and we put our name on there, it overrides the speaker and it's forced to the floor for a vote. So right now there's 217 signatures. And there is one.
Mostly Dems.
Yeah, mostly Dems. There's only 4 Republicans: Thomas Massey, myself, Nancy Mace, and Lauren Boebert. We're the only Republicans on the discharge petition.
Now, by the way, apparently the White House is calling these politicians, specifically Lauren Boebert, to try to get them to change their vote to block the Epstein discharge from passing. And there's other buzz out of D.C. that the entire D.C. establishment is panicked right now to stop this vote from happening. Why? Why? And why is it the Republicans? You know, when you ask these questions and you talk about D.C., you know, the why usually ends up at follow the money. The why usually ends up at the lobbyists. So we can do some deductive reasoning here, and I think there's plenty of evidence to suggest this is a fair conclusion to reach. Jeffrey Epstein, an intelligence asset working on behalf of Israel. That's kind of a nasty thing to come out. And when your Republican Party is totally behest to the Israeli lobby, well, I guess they would like to block that information from getting out, wouldn't they? Anyway, President Trump responded to this from the Oval Office.
I passed a great, big, beautiful bill, which is the biggest tax cuts in the history of our country. So when somebody like Marjorie...
By the way, what is he even talking about? Have you seen tax cuts? I'm not being facetious here. Have you seen tax cuts? What biggest tax cuts in history? What tax cuts? I'm not saying any tax cuts. If there are tax cuts, they're so minuscule that we can't even tell the difference. If we had the biggest tax cuts in American history, then we would all be able to tell the difference. I can't tell any difference. So what tax cuts is he even talking about? There are no tax cuts. It's just another lie. It's just more BS. Man, I'm getting real sick of it.
The history of our country. So when somebody like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's now catering to the other side, I don't know what, I guess she's, got some kind of vernacular, but I'm surprised at her. But when somebody like Marjorie goes over and starts making statements like that, it shows she doesn't know.
Yeah. No, President Trump, it looks like you're the one that doesn't know. Mr. President, you obviously he's not going to get any of this. This was his biggest mistake. This was President Trump's biggest mistake. And he made it. He made the mistake. And you know what? I can even understand it. He, in his mind, did what he had to do to win an election. That's what it was. He did what he had to do to win an election. And now, because of the deals that were made, he has to follow through. And I think that Trump is a man of his word. And when he makes a deal with you and shakes your hand, he follows through. But now he's surrounded by people that probably hate him. And instead of surrounding himself with the people that fought like hell for him since 2015, that would be trying to help him and protect him and steering him in the right direction, now he's surrounded by a bunch of, I'm going to try to be nice. Try to be family friendly here. He's surrounded by a bunch of cowards. He's surrounded by a bunch of sellouts. And he's surrounded by a bunch of politicos that are only looking out for themselves and the donor class and the lobbying class. So instead of surrounding himself with fighters who fought for him for 10 years, he surrounded himself with cowards and frauds. And now he just has no clue what's going on. Just none. And it sucks. It sucks to see. I don't take anything personally in politics. That's why I'm not up here crying about it. But yeah, To all of those people that spent 10 years fighting for this guy and fighting for what results we thought would come from a second Trump administration, yeah, we're beyond disenfranchised. We're beyond that. But this is who he lay in bed with. And now they've betrayed him. They've deceived him. I believe they've set him up. And he's just up there totally clueless. Just totally clueless. Endorsing Lindsey Graham. The fuck is wrong with you, man? Biggest tax cuts in America's history? Who says who? Greatest economy in American history? Oh, yeah, that's why we're getting 50-year mortgage plans? I mean, Mr. President, this is embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Speaking of taxes, this is Illinois Representative Joe Sosnowski talking about the Democrats' plan for taxes in Illinois. And this is the Democrats' plan for taxes across the board. And this is why it's so sad that we're about to let the Democrats win the midterms and probably the presidential election because we're prioritizing foreign policy over what the voters want. But this is what the Democrats have planned for you and for us.
The craziest things we've seen this week is a proposal for $2 billion almost in new taxes to fund Chicago mass transit. And this is a system that's poorly managed. We know it's poorly managed because they have out of control overtime. There's empty buses running all over the city. And oh, by the way, they're running over a $700 million deficit, which was that much, and now it's a little less, but then next year they're proposing that it'll be even greater. So part of this tax are things like streaming services, a Netflix tax, additional sales tax. They're looking to charge amusement tax, going to sporting events or going out to the movies or going to Great America, extra taxes there. And then the final thing is a capital gains tax on ultra wealthy right now. But the concern there is, once you start taxing capital gains on the rich, maybe they're going to start taxing people's retirements or 401ks or pension plans. And it's a real concern. It's a lot of money to a system that's just not working well. The craziest thing.
Can you imagine how bad it's going to get in Illinois if the Democrats do this, by the way? It's not good. By the way, Ben Shapiro is now going after Marjorie Taylor Greene, to nobody's surprise. Ben Shapiro wants to make sure that the Epstein list is protected. He's a big proponent, I guess, of Jeffrey Epstein. He likes Epstein and keeping that clear from any transparency. So here's he attacking Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is now criticizing President Trump. She said, by now, the neocons and establishment Republicans have hijacked MAGA. President Trump should have some words for her, honestly.
No, that's you, Ben. You've hijacked MAGA. You were the never Trumper. You've hijacked MAGA, and you've made it all about a foreign country and foreign policy that no one American likes. Just you, Ben. Just you. And I get it. You guys are riding high. You guys are on the high right now. You're drunk. You're drunk. You're in the honeymoon phase. You co-opted MAGA, and you made it all about your foreign loyalties and your foreign policy. So you're a little drunk right now, and you're not living in reality. You're politico drunk right now, and you have no idea the damage that you've caused to Republican Party politics. You have no idea the damage you've caused to conservative political movements. You have no idea the damage you've caused to President Trump and his reputation. And in 3 short years, Marjorie Taylor Greene will be looked at as an American hero and patriot, and Ben Shapiro will likely be on a plane to Israel because America doesn't want to support Israel anymore, and that's the only reason why he's here. He's even said so.
As a reminder, in September 2023, I forced the separate vote on the $300 million in the DoD probes for Ukraine. Here's the vote record results. Republicans, yay, 101 for funding to Ukraine, nay, 117 against funding to Ukraine. Democrats, the supposed anti-war party, yay, 210 for funding to Ukraine, nay, 0 against funding to Ukraine. Funding war and foreign countries is not what we voted for, and America still funds NATO. So if NATO is buying American weapons, we are still paying for it. Okay, first of all.
So everything Marjorie Taylor Greene just said there is America first.
We're not the only.
And populist. Everything she just said there is America first policy and populist in America. And if you don't understand that, well, you're not even trying, or you're up here lying because you're a foreign agent.
Funders of NATO. This has been one of President Trump's big pushes, is to get the NATO countries to spend more of their GDP on national defense. So they are, in fact, going to pay us for those weapons. But beyond that, who the hell does she think that establishment Republicans have?
And now he's lying to you. Ukraine is going to pay us back? What a big fat liar you are. What an absolute lying scumbag you are.
Do you mean the president has hijacked the movement that he built, and of which you are an obscure member?
Trump didn't build it. We the people built it, Ben. And you were against we the people when we started building it in 2015, by the way. Trump was our leader then. Trump was the leader of MAGA. Now, Trump is still the leader of MAGA, but MAGA's dead. MAGA's zombie land. With people like you in there, American patriots are out. You're the never Trumper, Ben. You're the anti-American slime, Ben. But enjoy the movement that we created and you co-opted. Enjoy it. Because at the end of it, the ride's over for you. The ride is over for the Israeli lobby after this. It's over. This is your last shot. So I give you credit. I tip my cap. You guys did it. You co-opted MAGA. You bought President Trump off. You bought him. You used Marianne Adelson's money to buy the president. The Israeli lobby, AIPAC, all of it. You guys bought MAGA. You co-opted it. I give you credit. I shake your hand. I say good game. But this is your last ride. This is your last ride, Ben. Everybody knows who you are now. Everybody knows you're an operator for Israeli interests. You're out there to trick conservatives and American patriots into supporting a foreign country, but it's over. This is your last ride. You're the never Trumper. You're the fraud. Marjorie Taylor Greene is an American patriot. You are an Israeli agent. That's how American people feel.
Remember, Congresswoman, is that what you mean there? I understand that your bizarre speculation about space lasers may make you think that you are the leader of the MAGA movement. I'm just wondering what evidence you have that is the case.
Yeah. Enjoy your zombie movement now, Ben. Enjoy it. And this is what they do, by the way. This is how they try to keep Americans confused. By the way, this is one of those accounts on X that nobody's ever heard of, but is obviously getting paid promotions to make everybody see the content. That's my assumption here. The Nazis want to kick all the Jews out of America by force. By the way, where are all the Nazis? Show me the Nazis. Show me them. What? Oh, Nick Fuentes, because he makes a joke about Nazis? What? Who are you talking about? Who are these Nazis? I'd love to see it. If you ask to where, they will say Israel. But then in the same breath, they'll vehemently claim that Israel shouldn't exist. Do you see where this is all really going? I challenge you, David. This is a challenge, David. I challenge you to prove any of what you just said. I challenge you to show me examples of what you just said. Show me. Apparently, this guy's a big Bigfoot guy, I guess. He likes Bigfoot. Yeah. Bigfoot is about as real as the political developments that you're covering here. In fact, I would say there's more evidence of Bigfoot existing than any of what you've said right here. Show me where this is. Notice there's no examples here. There's no examples. This doesn't exist, folks. There is no Nazi movement in America. It is a lie by the foreign lobbyists. It is a lie by the Israeli loyalists to keep you from being America first. That's what this is. Show me where this is happening, David. Show me. You give no examples. I'm not talking about accounts with 10 followers on X. I'm not talking about anonymous accounts with a frog in their picture on X. I mean, show me in the real world of politics, people that actually have influence, real conversations, real debates, real world politics. Show me where this is happening. I challenge you. Show me. You provide no evidence here. You are a liar, and you're lying on behalf of a foreign country, and everybody sees it. So, here's what's going on, just for those that aren't caught up yet. The Israeli lobby has the money and the influence, but they don't have the public support. And now, the average American is reconsidering foreign policy, and they're reinvestigating foreign policy. And specifically, they're honing in on how Israel is controlling our foreign policy with bad intelligence and buying off our politicians. And Americans are simply saying, we don't want that anymore. That's all it is. This is not about Jew hate. This is not about anti-Semitism. This is not about Nazis. This is about Americans deciding we want a different foreign policy. This is about Americans deciding when we say where this lobby money goes, we go the opposite way. There is nothing immoral about this. There is nothing inorganic or unnatural about this. And everything you're saying here is a protection racket for a foreign country. So, to put it simply, Israel is losing the foreign policy debate. They're losing approval and support in the United States of America. It's rapidly diminishing. We're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars potentially in foreign aid to Israel. So they're doing everything they possibly can to stop this from happening. And maybe to a certain degree, they feel that if Israel loses the support of the United States financially and militarily, that Israel's going to be in a bad situation, like up you-know-what creek without a paddle. Now, that may be true. That may not be true. But guess what? It's not my problem. It's not my problem, and it's not America's problem either. So, no, Americans are allowed to decide what we want to do with foreign policy. Americans are allowed to decide who they do and don't want to support based off of where lobbying money goes. That's what's being done here. But because you care more about a foreign country, you're injecting lies and propaganda and slander into this debate because all you want to do is protect a foreign country. And the more you lie and the more you misrepresent what's actually going on, the worse it's going to get for you. And I am someone who has no hate in my heart. You know, I don't like playing this game of, well, I like Jews or I have Jewish friends. But no, let's just say I do love Israel. Let's just say I do believe Jews are the best people in the world. Well, guess what? If that's the case, I would be doing the opposite of what you're doing. Because all you're doing is hurting Israel. All you're doing is hurting Jewish people. Do you even care? Do you even care that when you lie about what's going on in American politics, that when you lie about what's going on in foreign policy debate, that you're actually hurting your cause? You're hurting the Israeli cause. You're hurting the Jewish cause. This is all projection. And at the end of the day, they'll try to blame Tucker Carlson. They'll try to blame Candace Owens. They'll try to blame Nick Fuentes and everybody else. It's you guys. It's Ben Shapiro. It's Mark Levin. It's Benjamin Netanyahu. It's the rest of you that have decided you're going to take the money or whatever the hell it is that's motivating you to do this to lie about an American that says, I don't want to financially or militarily support Israel anymore. It's not a good foreign policy. It hasn't worked out for us, and I think we need to reprioritize America. And you come out here and you call them a Jew-hating Nazi, you're hurting your cause. You're hurting the cause for Jewish Americans, and you're hurting the cause for Israel. You're doing that. So you can blame everybody else in the world. It's your fault. If you want to know why Israel's going to lose all support for America in 4 years, look in the mirror. If you want to find out why real anti-Semitism is on the rise and Dave Portnoy can't even go do a pizza review anymore, look in the mirror. You're doing that, not us. You. But I guess at the end of the day, it doesn't matter to you because all you care about is that foreign country. That's all you care about. And unfortunately, there's a lot more evidence of this that we'll get to on the other side.
You're listening to the Owen Report on the Win Network.
It's the fastest 3 hours on the internet. It's the Owen Report with Owen Schroyer.
Well, the problem is that Blackout Coffee is just too good. It's just too good. And then you end up drinking so much of it that you go on such powerful political rants that sometimes people just, they can't even comprehend the power. So, but that's what happens when coffee is that good and you drink a couple cups. It's just, that's Blackout Coffee for you, folks. The official coffee of the Owen Report. By the way, go to blackoutcoffee.com/Owen, get 20% off your first order, whether it's the single serve pods and their 30 different flavors. That's right, 30 different flavors. If you can't find a flavor that you like, then you're not trying. Now, you can go with the traditional coffees, like my favorite, the Pitch Black Espresso Dark Roast, single-serve pods there. Or if you want to try something with a different flavor, they've got things like the Double Dark Chocolate, the Caramel Cream, the Banana Foster. If you're in the holiday spirit, many are already in the Christmas spirit, they've got stuff for you, too. The Peppermint Mocha, the Winter Wonderland, the Eggnog, the Candy Cane. All the different flavors in the single serve pods. Of course, they have their normal roasts that you can get in bags, ready to go, ready to be brewed. They also have the instant coffee, which is my favorite for when you're on the go or in a rush. Best instant coffee I've ever tasted. It's not even close. Most instant coffee, watered down, doesn't have that full flavor. Not the case with Blackout Coffee's premium instant coffee. Go to blackoutcoffee.com and get 20% off your first order. Support our friends at blackoutcoffee.com, blackoutcoffee.com/Owen, the official coffee of the Owen Report. All right, it's funny that I'm about to get into this right now because there's now been a development. This is crazy. But it just shows, folks. It just shows. There is no doubt what my politics are. There's no doubt where my loyalties lie. There's no doubt. I am loyal to the what, and the what is the United States of America and our people. And the truth. That's where my loyalties lie. The United States of America, our people, and the truth. That's what I'm loyal to. But now you can see all these people that pretended to be America first, American patriots, flag-waving, constitutional-waving patriots. It now turns out that really at the end of the day, they were loyal to Israel for whatever reason. And I've got some more proof of that right here. Now, this is, again, I don't take anything in politics personally. And so I'm just laughing at this, quite frankly. But it's sad, and I suppose I get it. So Jamie Mitchell. So I guess, Jamie, you want to do this now. I guess it's official. You've now unfollowed me because we have a foreign policy disagreement. So Jamie, you want to do this now. I have no beef with you. I thought we could still be friends, but since I don't support Israel, I guess you can't be friends with me now. Why is it my job as an American to support Israel, by the way? So this is Jamie Mitchell, who started Gays Against Groomers and who I platformed probably close to a dozen times. When she started her organization, I platformed her probably a dozen times. So did Tucker Carlson, by the way. And I was always kind to Jamie, and I still have no problems with Jamie. I still think she's a good person. We have a foreign policy disagreement. She's loyal to Israel. I'm not. Okay, it's fine. You're your own person. I'm my own person. I didn't think we were in a cult here, although I don't know about you now. But I didn't realize it was like this. So now Jamie Mitchell has unfollowed me because of a foreign policy disagreement. Jamie, did anybody platform you more than Tucker Carlson and Owen Schroyer when you started Gays Against Groomers? And then you go out when Pastor Locke lies about me and calls me a Jew hater, and you go out and you support him. Tell me, Jamie, when did Pastor Locke ever platform you? Did Pastor Greg Locke invite you to his pulpit? Did Pastor Greg Locke platform you so that you could fundraise and organize? The answer is no. But I did. I did a dozen times. And I'd do it again. Or maybe not now. I don't know. You might not want to anymore. And that's because I believed in your cause and I believed in you. I didn't care that you were Jewish. Still don't. And then you go out there and you support Greg Locke, who calls me a Jew hater, even though you know I'm not, because I platformed you a dozen times and have been nothing but supportive of you. And then you defend him when he lies about me, when you could easily take a stand and say, hey, you know what, Pastor Locke, I agree with you on Israel, but I know Owen Schroyer. He's platformed me. He helped me grow my organization. He's definitely not a Jew hater. And you wouldn't even do that? And now we have a foreign policy disagreement and you decide you're going to unfollow me? Okay. Fine with me. But you know what? You want to play these games? Fine. Fine. So I'm just wondering then, Jamie, were you ever organic? Was Gays Against Groomers an organic political movement to help America First politics, and to get Donald Trump in office? Or is this the real thing that you were always intended for, a foreign policy issue? It was never about Gays Against Groomers. It was never about men and women's sports. It was never about the LGBTQ movement going too far to the left. Was it always about Israel? Who were your major donors? Did they build you up so that when the time came, you would support Israel after you got big? Sorry to ask these things, Jamie, but you've decided that you want to turn against me now. So, okay, there you go. There you go. Enjoy the ride. Enjoy the ride. And I still have nothing against you. I'd still consider you a friend, but I guess that's not mutual. So here we are. So here we are, Jamie. What a shame. What a shame. But it does show where your loyalties are. I don't regret giving you a platform. I don't regret helping you build and organize your organization. I think it's a good cause, and I still do. I'm wondering if it was ever about that now. And I certainly don't hate you. Not at all. Don't even think negatively about you, actually. Still think you're a good person and wish nothing but the best for you. But you've made it clear now you're going to unfollow me and you're going to let somebody lie about me even though you know better? Okay. Okay. Because of a foreign policy disagreement? Okay. Hey, your choice, not mine. So she and many others think it's this big own, like they think we care. It's the same thing. Like, I don't care that you're Jewish. I agree with you that men shouldn't be in women's sports. I agree with you that LGBTQ plus radicalization is a problem for our country. I agree with you on these things. So I don't care if you're Jewish or Hindu or Chinese. Those are things that we agree on. So I support those things. Just like tracking AIPAC. So tracking AIPAC comes out on Breaking Points, and they come out and it's these leftists, and one of them's gay. So it's like, oh, look, he's gay and the right wing cares. Well, why? Again, what do you think? We care about the what, not the who. You don't get it yet, do you? We care about the what, not the who. And if you do care about the who, that's because you're in a cult of personality. So do I care that tracking AIPAC is run by leftist or a gay man? Don't care at all. I don't like foreign lobbying. I don't like the fact that AIPAC is one of the most influential and powerful lobbying groups in D.C., and they act on behalf of a foreign country. That's my problem. I don't care if it's a whale that is bringing this issue up. I don't care if it's a woman, a man, a trans, a gay man. What? I don't care, because the what is what I care about. And it's really amazing how people don't comprehend this. We are principled people. We are people that act on principle. And I guess for some people that's hard to understand. And I guess really at this point, if you support Netanyahu, then you have no principles left anyway. But that's a side issue. So they think this is some own. Oh, track AIPAC as far left and a gay guy. I don't care. I probably disagree with them on maybe every other issue I might disagree with them on. But if a far left radical gay person says, hey, ice cold water is good on a hot day, what am I going to say? No, it's not. See, you guys are just like the Trump haters. You guys are no different than the Trump haters. You guys are the woke. Oh my gosh, a far leftist says that AIPAC is a foreign lobbying group. It is. Man, the woke right is the most brainwashed people in America today. It really is. And just because I have a foreign policy disagreement with Jamie Mitchell, who I platformed a dozen times, and I would still support her movement of gays against groomers, she's going to unfollow me now. Why are you so shallow? Why are you so soft? It's because you're woke. It's because you're woke. All right, I can't spend any more time on this. I'm done. I'm getting too personal here now. I've said too much. Sorry, Jamie. You're the best. I love you. You're great. I'm sorry that you're so triggered and so woke now that a foreign policy dispute makes you want to unfollow me. Or maybe it's because I just whooped your butt in a Twitter debate today, in an X debate today. That's probably what it is. I just embarrassed you in an X debate today. So now you're all triggered about it with your woke mentality on these issues. But you know what? I still love you. You're still great. I wish nothing but the best for you and your group and your wife. Godspeed. Godspeed. And hey, if you ever want to debate these things, I would love to do that. I would love to have a dialogue and a discussion and a debate with you. You had no problem when I wanted to help you grow your organization and promote your organization. You had no problem in coming on my platform then. But I guess now that we have a debate, I don't know. Maybe this message will get to you. You are more than welcome. Jamie Mitchell from Gays Against Groomers is more than welcome to come on my platform and explain to me why. I don't even know what. Explain to me why tracking AIPAC is bad or why AIPAC is good. You are more than welcome to make that claim in person. More than welcome, if you would like to. So there's your invite. So I invited you on my platform to promote your group and help you fundraise and organize. And you took the invitation. Now you have an invitation to come on the show and to tell me why you support AIPAC and Israel. And you're more than welcome to come on and make that case too. I'm going to leave it at that. Nothing but the best. Nothing but positive vibes for you, Jamie. Cernovich points out, a leader of a terrorist organization that killed thousands of U.S. soldiers is visiting the United States, and there's no outrage from the neocons about Trump platforming him. No protests, no hyperventilating podcast segments, no Fox News or CNN hits, none. And you know what's funny? They're still doing the same crap. They're still attacking Tucker Carlson. They're still attacking Candace Owens. They're still attacking Nick Fuentes for the last 3 weeks, 24/7. And I will give Laura Loomer credit. She did call this out. I think Laura is the only one that's been on the attack campaign against Carlson, Fuentes, and Owens. I think Loomer is the only one that called out Jolani at the White House. I think she was the only one of all of them. So credit where credit is due. Good job, Laura. At least you remain consistent on that. But that's it. That's it. All the other people that tell you that Fuentes and Owens and Carlson are the worst Americans in American politics today, all of them were silent that a former al-Qaeda leader who literally is pictured with decapitated heads, folks. I mean, this is like the top al-Qaeda guy, beheading, killing people. How many Americans was he responsible for killing? And he's invited to the White House and ingratiated, and none of them said anything. Now, let's just be honest. Jolani was obviously an intelligence asset. Now, I don't know if he was a product of the CIA or a product of the Mossad, but obviously Jolani was an intelligence asset. Otherwise, this makes no sense. Otherwise, I can't figure this out. Explain to me that. If Jolani is not a CIA and or Mossad asset, then how the hell does this guy go from a $10 million wanted bounty on his head, holding up decapitated heads, al-Qaeda killing Americans? How do you go from that to a guest at the White House and the president of Syria in 1 year? If you're not an intelligence asset. How? Somebody explain that to me. Oh, I'm growing tired. I'm I don't know if I can do. I'm just so sick of it. I'm so sick of it, but let's just go ahead and do it. Just go ahead and cover it. You're probably seeing this, Josh Hammer, I think Randy Fine, I think Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin, the usual suspects. They're all telling you now, because this is just, they keep having to move the goalpost and pivot their conversation points because they are losing the debate on every front. So now their latest talking point is America only exists because of the Old Testament, aka America only exists because of Jews. So this is what they're telling you now. So this is what you're being told. The Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament, the Jewish Bible is the very wellspring of Western civilization. So you got that, Americans. You didn't build that. Somebody else did. Okay, I got to just move on. Yeah, it's just get ready. You're going to see that soon. You're going to see somebody's going to tell you that the Hebrews are the real Americans. They're the founding fathers. The entire America was built from the Old Testament, guys. That's all. That's everything. So ridiculous. Trump officially requests pardon for Netanyahu. Israeli president's office says, yeah, Trump wrote a nice letter asking the president of Israel to pardon Netanyahu. And it's not very popular at all, actually. But it's just showing where Trump's priorities lie. Trump's priorities are whatever Netanyahu wants. For whatever reason, Netanyahu and his desires are Trump's number one priorities. So whether that's blackmail, whether it's financial, whether it's Trump really believes it, go ahead, take your guess. But that's the truth. Meanwhile, Tina Peters, Gold Star mother, rotting in jail. Meanwhile, Dexter Taylor, rotting in jail. President Trump, nothing big there. Not trying to move mountains to get them free. Innocent Americans, fighters for President Trump. Nothing there to get them free. But Netanyahu, who never did anything when Trump was being politically persecuted, by the way. Did you know that? What did Netanyahu do for President Trump when he was being politically persecuted? Oh, that's right. Nothing. What did President Trump do when the election was stolen for Donald Trump? Excuse me. What did Netanyahu do when the election was stolen from Donald Trump in 2020? Oh, that's right. Netanyahu congratulated Joe Biden on his victory. And Trump is simping to Netanyahu? What an embarrassment. You know, and I sit here as Trump prioritizes Netanyahu and Israel over America and American people. I sit here and I'm just so mind blown by it. Because, you know, you're a critical thinker. You go through a process of logic and deductive reasoning, and you have to try to reach a conclusion of why are these things happening? And I mean, there's only 3 conclusions I can reach here, folks. And it's like, do I just do a topic-driven show and try to figure this out? Because I don't really do that. And it's really successful these days. I like to do 3 hours of news so that you can tune in and understand everything that's going on and get the headlines. And sometimes I'm successful. Sometimes we get a little off track. But I don't do like the topical stuff where we just drive home a topic for a week or a month. I want you, if you tune in here 3 hours a day, to really get an understanding of what's going on in American politics. And sometimes we succeed and sometimes maybe we fall short. But I mean, I'm just trying to figure out what the hell's going on here. Is Donald Trump being blackmailed by Netanyahu? Is Donald Trump just doing what the big donors like Marian Adelson want him to do? Or is there going to be a big redemption? Is there going to be a redemption pivot from Trump at some time? And maybe that's hopeful thinking, but it's just like none of it makes any sense. It doesn't make any sense. And those are the only 3 ways that I can make sense of it. It's either blackmail, the donors bought him out, or this is all a big ruse for a major redemption pivot down the road. Those are the only 3 potentials I can come to terms with as to why Trump is doing this. I can't figure it out any other way. Meanwhile, Kushner in Jerusalem for unannounced talks with Netanyahu. So out of nowhere, they announced that Kushner and Witkoff are going to be going to Israel to meet with Netanyahu about the Gaza peace plan. Right. So that's what they're telling you. That's the official narrative. NBC News. Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff meet with Netanyahu to push Gaza ceasefire forward. Of course, it's not going so well. Hundreds are still dying. Hostages still an issue. Some of the remains, a big issue there. Okay. So, all right. And then you find out Netanyahu was supposed to be in court. Netanyahu was supposed to be in court for his corruption charges, and now they delayed the court date again because he's meeting with Trump's envoy. Oh. No, well, I'm sure that's just a coincidence that keeps happening every time Netanyahu has a Trump envoy shows up and he has to delay the court date. I'm sure that's just a coincidence. I'm sure of it. Who had Nikki Haley's son coming out as more America first than a lot of people that pretended to be during the most recent Trump campaign cycle? So this is Nayland Haley, son of Nikki Haley, who once said, "It is not that Israel needs America. America needs Israel." You know, I'd like to try that out. I'd like to put that to the test. Let's see how that goes. Now I will also tell you eventually they're gonna also say, okay. And in fact, I think Laura said it first, and then I saw some other people. Laura Loomer said it first. It's time for America to cut aid to Israel. And then I saw a couple other people repeat that same thing. Okay, great. Fantastic. Wins. Can't be soon enough. Cut the foreign aid to Israel. Absolutely. You will solve so many problems. That's what's so funny. It's like they project this whole thing like, oh, it's Jew hate or anti-Semitism. No, it's not. It's not that at all. Watch. Designate AIPAC a foreign lobby and stop all foreign aid to Israel, and watch how that topic of conversation disappears. Watch how it just disappears. When we don't have to deal with AIPAC lobbyists buying off our entire Congress, both sides of the aisle, when we don't have to deal with representatives waving the foreign flags in our face, and when we don't have to cut a check to Israel that's at war with everybody on the earth right now, I guess. They bombed 9 countries in the last 2 years. They just killed 100,000 people in this most recent war. So yeah, the minute we stop cutting checks and stop militarily supporting that, the whole thing will go away. It'll just go away. It won't be a big issue, and people won't talk about it anymore. That's all you got to do. That's all it's ever been about. A bad foreign policy and foreign aid. That's all it's ever been about. So get rid of the bad foreign policy, get rid of the influencers of the foreign policy, and get rid of the foreign aid, and watch it disappear. Whew. Gone. That's all you got to do. And I guess if you really cared about stopping anti-Semitism, then you would support that, because that would stop it in your eyes. So Nayland Haley says, Israel is just another country, and if they want to have a better relationship with the United States, they need to stop interfering in our politics. Whoa. Who had Nayland Haley emerging as an America First patriot on their bingo card? Yeah, good for him. Good for him. Here's the big lie. Here's the big projection yet again. From Newsmax, Michelle Bachmann resigns from Heritage Foundation Task Force. She says, I resigned from the Heritage Anti-Semitism Task Force because Heritage leadership failed to stand against voices of anti-Semitism on the political right. So in other words, because they won't condemn Tucker Carlson, she's leaving. And Tucker Carlson, who's not even anti-Semitic. Honestly, it's like, folks, I'm sick of it. Believe me, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it because I hate the redundancy factor. And I'm sick of it because I've never had more hatred directed at me. I've never had more vitriol directed at me ever before in my political career than when I covered the Israel issue. So for the last 10 years, where I've been speaking out against the left and going to their events and pushing back against the radical left ideology for 10 years and everything that's come of that and the prices I've paid for that, I have never had more hatred and vitriol directed at me, even from the 10 years of that, than I have on the Israel issue. So believe me, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. And to the people that listen to my show, that they're sick of it too, I'm right there with you. But this is one of the biggest stories in our country. But more importantly, it's one of the biggest issues for us to actually achieve an America First agenda, is to decouple with the entire Middle East, but specifically Israel. That's why it's a big issue. But I also focus on pushing back on propaganda and exposing propaganda. And this is the biggest propaganda right now in the United States of America. This is the number one big lie and propaganda right now in the United States of America, is that if you have a foreign policy disagreement on Israel, that you're an anti-Semite. That is the number one propaganda in the country. That is the number one big lie in the country to try to keep us making bad political decisions. And I will not let my audience fall for it. And I will not sit idly by while this continues to happen. I will not do it. So believe me, I hate it too. I'm sick of it too. I have never had more hatred directed at me in my life. I've never been put on more lists in my life. I've never had more death threats in my life. I've never had more false accusations in my life. Of the 10 years that I've pushed back against the radical left, I've never experienced the hatred and vitriol that I have just in the last, say, 10 months when I covered the Israel issue. So I'm sick of it too, folks. I don't like it. I don't like dealing with the hate. I don't like dealing with the vitriol. But I'm an American patriot, and I stand for the truth, and I will continue to do so. And I'm an American broadcaster who's one of his big talents, let's say, or one of his big broadcast points is exposing propaganda, and this is the biggest propaganda in American media today. So I'm sick of it like everyone else. But it won't go away. And they're lying about it. So I'm not going to let the lies go unreported on. Not going to happen. Now, as I say, never doubt me. What have I been telling you now for 2 weeks about what's going on in Ireland? I told you the Irish Patriot movement, the Ireland First movement saw what happened in America to our movement. They saw what happened in the Netherlands to their movement, and how the Israeli lobby and the Israeli loyalists have destroyed those movements. So Ireland said, we're not going to let that happen here. Well, it's even gone a step further. The president of Ireland, Michael Higgins, telling it like it is here, ladies and gentlemen. Telling you, they saw it. They saw it. They're not going to let it happen in Ireland. Listen to President Higgins.
But if you criticize Netanyahu's policies, you are then described as being anti-Semitic. That is a disgrace and a slander. The idea that a propaganda campaign against Ireland is now active in the United States, so that when we are seeking to have meetings with people who are for example, interested in investing in Ireland, they're being contacted in advance with a suggestion by saying, you must open by asking, why is Ireland so against the United States position on Israel? We are among the best informed people, thanks to all those families who sent their soldiers, daughters and sons on peacekeeping to the Lebanon and elsewhere. And I salute them, because when they come back, they tell the truth of what was their experience. But if you criticize Netanyahu's policies, you are then described as being anti-Semitic. That is a disgrace and a slander.
Did I tell you? Did I tell you? Never doubt me, folks. Never doubt me, folks. And the English comedian John Cleese has been getting real involved in this debate lately. In case you haven't been following John Cleese, he's been really weighing into this debate. He asks, many Jews criticize Netanyahu. Are they all being anti-Semitic? Oh, well, you know, if logic can't be applied universally, it's not logic, it's propaganda. Now, of course, the West and the American people specifically, they don't know what's really going on in Israel. They're just they get nothing but one-sided propaganda. So they don't know that Netanyahu is being charged with corruption. They don't know that the Knesset is against Netanyahu. They don't know that Israelis are protesting Netanyahu every day in the streets. But yeah, nobody calls them anti-Semitic. So why is it if an American says the exact same thing as an Israeli, the American is anti-Semitic, but not the Israeli? Well, I have the answer. Because if logic can't be applied universally, it's not logic, it's propaganda. So there you go. Yeah, last night, or I guess it was this weekend or Monday. Whenever the Turning Point event at UC Berkeley happened, it was Sunday or Monday, or I can't remember. There were people running around beating white people and saying, hey, white boy, what happened, white boy? So, just blatant, targeting whites for violence, and then anti-white statements being shouted and uttered at them. Where's the outrage? Where's the outrage from the DOJ? Where's the outrage from the media? Where's the full spectrum coverage of the anti-white attacks and the anti-white rhetoric? Well, it doesn't exist. Well, why is that? Because if logic can't be applied universally, it's not logic, it's propaganda. See how much fun we're having? Aren't we having fun? So Cernovich responding, he says, I can promise you that Ted Cruz won't say anything. Barry Weiss won't have a 60-minute segment on CBS about anti-white hatred, and the media will ignore it. White people are seen as a target for violence. But don't shout free Palestine. That means you get expelled by Trump. I think he posted this 2 days ago. Where's my timestamp on here? That's weird. Oh, there it is. I'm sorry. Yeah, so November 11th. So that was yesterday. Yeah, nothing from Barry Weiss, and she did a show today. I think 10 people watched it. Nothing from Ted Cruz. So Cernovich was proven right. So again, if it can't be applied universally, it's not logic, it's propaganda. And I don't even care. Let's be clear, because I am logically consistent. If somebody comes up to me on the streets, and by the way, this has happened many times. This has happened on video many times. I go to these leftist events. Of course I get anti-white slurs yelled at me. Okay. Doesn't bother me. I don't care. I don't cry. I put you on camera and I laugh. Or I put you on camera and I debate you. I don't call the DOJ. I don't call the local police. I don't get on the mainstream media. Oh my gosh, oh, I'm a poor white boy. Oh my gosh, oh, they're so anti-white and they're racist. Oh, they need to be arrested. Oh my gosh. Have you ever seen me do that once? No, because I believe it's your free speech. I believe in your freedom to hate white people. I believe in your freedom to hate white people, and I believe in your freedom to express your hatred in speech against white people. And I will always fight for your freedom. Now, you cross the lines of violence and you break the law, it's another story. Now you might have to deal with the law. I don't know. But it's clear there's only one path of enforcement when it comes to this stuff. There's only one. And by the way, it's blacks, Indians, Mexicans, all fair game. All fair game for racist jokes and racist mutterances. Happens all the time. No coverage, no national outrage, no DOJ investigations. Anyway, let's just move on. I think, anyway. Okay. This is heavier stuff to end the show with today. This is heavier stuff. Now, I've already talked about how I think Charlie was one of the last voices of reason in Trump's ear, and how Charlie Kirk was maybe the last voice that could get to Donald Trump and tell him how Americans are really feeling. But I have another conclusion I've reached after something Megyn Kelly shared this weekend. And by the way, you know, Candace Owens fell under massive attack for some claims she made about text messages that she had with Charlie. And she actually produced those text messages this week. No apologies. So all the people that called Candace a liar and said that she fabricated text messages between her and Charlie, she actually delivered the proof this week. No apologies. And look, I haven't weighed in much on this, and I don't really care to. I don't get in the business of defending personalities per se. You know, when the time is right, I guess I can step in, but that's not really, my business of getting into the defense of personalities. I'm more of an issue-based commentator, I would say. But, Candace has been under attack. There's no doubt. Nobody's denying that. And I'd say that a lot of people have even grown to really hate Candace. And Candace is a grown woman. She knows what she's doing. And she makes her own decisions. And she knows the decisions that she's making are going to, cause her some trouble. She's well aware of this. And I would even say that perhaps some of the people that feel her coverage is distasteful have a fair point. And yet I think Candace is, reeling from the loss of Charlie and then stunned at what appears to be a cover-up of the assassination. So I'm not endorsing or standing against anything Candace has said, but I am reporting the facts. And from my perspective, it seems like every claim that Candace has made that they called her a liar about, she then produced receipts within a week. Seems like every claim. It was the first with the footage from behind, and then text messages, and then what was going on with some of these private meetings. Every time that she stood out on a limb and endured the attacks, she has produced the receipts every single time. So you might not like the way she's handling it. You might think it's distasteful because of conclusions that you've reached. Hey, okay. But it seems at this point, every claim she's made, she's backed up with a receipt. And now Megyn Kelly's getting involved. And she happened to be filming a video of Charlie and Tucker Carlson talking at an event. It's totally like, what are the odds of this? But I guess she's filming at an event or taking a picture or shooting her own video, and it just so happens that Tucker and Charlie are in the background, and she captures it. Now, nobody is going to tell you what I'm about to tell you here. But I think I understand what's happening in this video better than anybody else, except maybe Tucker and Charlie or who was ever in the video. But I'm not seeing anybody in the media tell you what I'm about to tell you. Now, I'm going to play this clip from the Megyn Kelly show with Charlie and Tucker in this video. And we'll get her commentary here with her guest, who I believe is a TPUSA a guest that she has on her show here. So I'm gonna show you this, and then I'm gonna tell you something nobody else in the media is telling you about this. And that might be because it's kind of a rare thing that you experience what I've experienced, and so it's not like a normal thing to understand what's happening here. But I'm going to tell you something nobody else has told you. So here's the clip. So in the beginning here, that sounds a little muffled. This is Charlie saying, "Go Max," and then it's kind of muffled. It's hard to interpret, but it's like, "Go Max, go all in, go Max."
Go Max.
I found a video of me, Tucker, and Charlie speaking backstage right before Tucker went out. Tucker and I were talking. Charlie came over and interrupted for just a second. And you can hear him on this tape, which I've listened to many times. It's very clear on my phone, less clear here probably as we play it. But he says to Tucker, "Go Max." He interrupts the conversation because he has to say to Tucker something. And what was so important to him to tell Tucker was, go Max. Here it is.
Go Max.
So again, I can't tell what he says. He says, "Go Max, go Max." And then it sounds like he says what he wants him to go Max on. It's a little muffled, but you can hear him say, "Go Max, go Max." And Tucker seems to agree and says, okay, I will. So it's open for interpretation, but it does seem like there's a little bit of circumstantial evidence that will tell you what they were talking about.
It's quick. It just happens to be on tape, and it backs up what Tucker said. And so I just think we need to be realistic.
Yes, and Tucker said it was about Israel, by the way. Because obviously, and this is all public, again, this gets back to the narrative wars. When Candace started making these claims about Charlie getting pressured to not go against Israel, but specifically Charlie getting pressured to stop platforming Tucker Carlson, he came to Tucker and he said, "Absolutely not. We will continue to pressure you." And the interpretation from Carlson's end was he was saying, go Max on Israel or Epstein. You know, hey, these people don't want you here. You're welcome to be here. Don't censor yourself. Go Max. So that's the supposed context of that from Charlie. You could argue it's open for interpretation, and I would say that's fair. But that's the supposed context of these statements, and there's plenty of circumstantial evidence to lead me to believe that that's exactly what he's talking about. Now, for the sake of time, I'm going to pull out of this. So here's what I'm going to tell you that nobody else is telling you. And maybe this is common in media. Maybe it's not. I don't know. It's happened to me a couple times. I don't think this is too common in media. I think most people in media are somewhat controlled. Okay? Meaning that there's either limits on what they can say, or there's only so many people in media that are truly independent and that truly speak their mind, that truly are stream of consciousness and tell you how they really think and how they really feel. It's very rare in political media. I happen to be one of these people. That's my reputation. So there have been many times in my political media career where somebody will approach me, and these, I mean, sometimes we're talking big name people that are way bigger than me, people that are way bigger and wealthier and more well-connected than me. And then sometimes it's maybe some more estranged people in the political world. But I've had all types of people in the political world approach me, and they'll say, Owen, I can't cover this. Will you cover it for me? Now, that's putting it simply, but I think you get the gist. People will approach me with something controversial or something that they know or some information that they have, and they will approach me, and they'll either give it to me directly, or they'll give me the context, or they'll give me some clues, whatever. But people will come to me. This has happened multiple times, and they've said, hey, I can't really say this. Will you say it? Or, hey, I can't really cover this. Will you cover it? This has happened to me. I mean, I wouldn't say a ton, but it's happened. It's not extremely rare. It might be uncommon, but it's happened enough for me to recognize that this is a pattern. What are the odds that that's what Charlie was doing with Tucker? What are the odds that Charlie felt like he couldn't express his opinion on foreign policy, or maybe more specifically Epstein, or maybe even more specifically Israel? So he was asking Tucker to do it for him. And what if maybe since Charlie's death, Tucker has felt a little more compelled to do what Charlie asked him to do? Now, I admit it. This is conspiratorial. I will admit that. I'm just telling you it's happened to me before, folks. And if you've been following my work for a while, you know, because I'm not like the big exclusive guy. I'm like, I just bring you the news guy. I do the commentary stuff. I don't do like the big exclusive stuff. But every once in a while, you tune into me, you get exclusives. Every once in a while, you tune into me and you get information you're not getting anywhere else. Folks, that's because people way bigger than me, way more well-connected to me, reach out and they ask me to cover this stuff. And they give me the exclusives and they say, Owen, I can't cover this for whatever reason it is. For reason X, Y, or Z, they say, Owen, I can't cover this. Will you cover this? And I've done it. Two examples. Now, I also happened to be involved in these things, but two examples off the top of my head. If you've been following my work, you may remember two examples. It was about a year or so ago. I told you that, well, I guess it was less than a year because this was the new administration. I told you that the White House and a bunch of donors were working on these plans to start flying out hundreds of members of the media to Israel. So if you follow my work, if you're one of the top listeners and you want to tune in every day, I love you. But you know, I broke that story. Now, how do you think I got that information, folks? Now, I happen to be one of the people that was getting the invites, but that was still a one-on-one transaction. Somebody that I either know or am friends with that cares about Israel. And I give them credit for that. I think that I wish Americans cared about America as much as people care about Israel. So I give them credit. I mean, they do what they do what they care about. I give them credit for that. And that's mutual respect, by the way. They respect me for my loyalty to America. I respect them for their loyalty to their cause. Total mutual respect. I respect honest people, even if I disagree. But so I got the invites, but that was just one-on-one transactions of people saying, hey, would you be interested? Or, hey, I can facilitate this to you and maybe some details. And I always said no. But then, you know, I got the big call. I got the big exclusive. And this was actually, I think it was the day after I went on air and said that I had been offered the trip to Israel, that I had turned it down. And hey, you know what? I appreciate the offer. Hell, if it's funny, I said this before, but just to reiterate, I get more of an effort to court me by Israel than I do by America and the Trump administration. I'm like, I am one of the more outspoken people in the American media about our foreign policy with Israel, and yet I get offers all the time to go to Israel. I bet I could even get an interview with Netanyahu. I give them credit. I give the Israeli lobby credit. They fight hard for Israel, folks. Now, we don't really have that in America, unfortunately. They do. And even despite my negative coverage and my negative commentary, they still try to court me. They still try to fly me out there. Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, you name it. Oh, yeah. Despite that, it's ironic. Despite that negativity, they will still try to court me and win me over. I respect it. But it's ironic because I don't get any of that from Trump. I don't get any of that from the White House. I don't get any of that from this administration. The administration, the individual that I've actually fought for, gone to jail for, everything I've endured, and they don't do crap for me. But Israel, that I'm like standing against on foreign policy and all this stuff, they're always reaching out. They're always trying to bring me in. It's ironic like that. I give them credit. But I guess that just shows how loyal I am to the things I care about, as are they. But so, yeah, I go on air and I say I was offered the trip and I respectfully turned it down. Say, you know what? It's an honor you would offer me that, but I'm going to respectfully turn it down. I'm not interested. Say, okay. And then the next day, said, Owen, actually, the White House is working with a bunch of lobbyists and they have tons of money. They're about to fly hundreds of independent people to Israel for this purpose. And I broke that the next day. Now, why am I telling you this? Because it's the same thing. They called me and they said, I can't cover this, Owen. They said, Owen, I cannot cover this story. And nobody can know I'm telling you this. But do with this information what you want. There is a massive fundraising effort with the White House involved to send hundreds of independent media members over to Israel. And then what did you see in the months following and still today? Now it's all happened. They're still over there almost every week, new batches going in, going over, doing the pictures, all of it. That's what I'm talking about. So, what are the odds that Charlie went to Tucker? Because we've seen a lot. We've seen what Charlie has said publicly, and we've seen some of the text messages that were shared after his death. So there's really no debate where Charlie stood on the issue. There's really no debate there. You can figure that out with his recent public statement and some of the texts that have come out. But what are the odds when all this pressure was mounting on Charlie that he went to Tucker and he said, Tucker, I can't say these things in public. I can't say these things on my platform. Would you say them? Would you go max on them for me? What are the chances? What are the odds? And you'd hate to think that there's anything more to it than that. But yet, when I saw that, I couldn't help but think, this sounds really familiar. All right. Signing off. Heavy show, so let's lighten it up. night, that's obnoxious. So last night, crunching snow. I don't have to listen to that anymore now that I'm in Austin, Texas. I don't have to listen to crunching snow, but man, I wish I would have seen the Aurora Borealis last night. My God. My God, is Earth not undefeated in its beauty and its wonder and its mysticism? So some of the most incredible things you've ever seen were captured on camera last night with the Aurora Borealis all across the continental United States. Apparently, it's going to be back tonight. Apparently, there's going to be more of this tonight, and the ejection from the sun is one of the bigger that's ever been measured. And so it's going to hit again tonight. Apparently massive. It could be even crazier sight tonight. This stuff is incredible. If you have the ability to see this stuff, folks, get outside tonight and see it. If you are lucky enough to be over in the landmass where you can actually see this stuff, you got to get out and see. This is some of the most incredible stuff I've ever seen. And it's so funny. Apparently, so North Texas, they saw the Aurora Borealis. Even people in El Paso were reporting seeing it. People in the mountains of Mexico were reporting seeing it. We couldn't see anything in Austin. I'm sitting here feeling left out. I'm like, is Austin the only city where I can't see this stuff? So, hey, look up tonight, folks. Look up tonight, because apparently it might be even bigger tonight. Some people are saying it might be even bigger, the wild spectacles in the sky tonight. So try to capture that, at least in your memory. That's an incredible thing. All right, that does it for today's show. Lots of fastballs. Lots of Nolan Ryan 103 in your grill fastballs today. But that's what you get from the Owen Report. And never doubt me, folks. All right, 21-hour break. We'll be back tomorrow. Same thing, same time, same channel. God bless and Godspeed. Oh, I forgot to mention this. The entire OwenSchroyer.store is back. The entire store is back. OwenSchroyer.store. We've relisted all of our products, and I think we might keep it that way, and then in 2026 do a full store revamp. So, forgot to mention that last week, but that's happening right now at OwenSchroyer.store.